about so much. Is there a draft on the way? Are ground troops on the way? How big is the area that is there next to the Strait of Hormuz? How many drones can they hide in that area? How difficult is this to get a hold of the Strait of Hormuz? Has President Trump been led down the primrose path like he was with COVID? Have the intelligence community and military industrial complex done that when it comes to Iran? And is this going to destroy our economy? But also, if we put boots on the ground, will it bring terror cells being activated in the U.S.? We'll play some clips by a professor out of the University of Chicago. I don't have to agree with everything he says, nor do I, but I do find some of his statements very interesting and worthy of playing and discussing with our very esteemed panel tonight. We're going to talk about what's happening to the U.S. in regards to the Democrat Socialists of America, the red-green axis, the Marxists, the Islamists. We have the defense minister for Israel saying that the U.S. is blocking them from fighting Iran. Of course, we also had Benjamin Netanyahu today at the funeral of U.S. late Senator Lindsey Graham. He was having a conversation with Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. What were they talking about? And also, sadly and prayerfully, we should be praying for this to not come to pass. Pray for the protection of our president, our government officials, and the president's family, who are increasingly coming under great threat. And now we have video from Iran with one of their videos we'll play tonight, and the translation will be on the screen. But Melania Trump, Barron Trump, they are being targeted by Iran. And then one of the videos that's come out makes us believe that there are moles, indeed, inside the government, inside the intel arena, that are feeding information about the whereabouts and movements and being maybe perhaps tracked by satellite as well by the enemies of America. So this is all ratcheting up tonight. And then, of course, the great involvement of Islam in America. While we're fighting them over there, we're not fighting them over here. We're rolling out the red carpet for them here. And they are winning, the Marxists, the Islamists, the red-green axis. But yet also we have seen this week news reports from groups like defenseone.com that the Selective Service, their system, is seeking a software update for the military draft. Why would they be doing that? Something I've been warning about since 2018. And of course, then we can talk about the evangelicals in America. They're completely, by and large, their denominations compromised. They have laid the groundwork for the takeover of the Islamists in America through interfaith dialogue, political correctness. And then we have the leader of Turkey, Erdogan. He is wanting to expand the neo-Ottoman Empire. And yet President Trump continues to praise him. And yet he wants to take Jerusalem. And yet he also has, the second largest army in NATO. And yet he is cozying up with many of the countries that we're opposing. We are so conflicted. Yet, is there a merging of the war with Russia and Ukraine into the war in the Middle East? What role is Ukraine playing in striking Iran? We'll get to all that and more. Can you believe it? Wow, what a program we have for you tonight. First up will be Nick Holscher, epidemiologist Nick Holscher. We're going to talk about what many of the embalmers are finding in the bodies of the people they're embalming. It has something to do with COVID shots, you know that. And we'll talk about vitamin C and fighting cancer and so much more with him. A very quick little interview with Nick Holscher before we get to our all-star panel. Again, in studio tonight is our reporter from Israel. He's here on the ground today, tomorrow, Thursday. Aaron Lavarco will join us. And then joining us via technology, Shahram Hadian and Anni Cyrus. Now, if you appreciate all we're doing here, folks, it is the summer months. Giving drops in the summer. And, we put out so much content, and twice in the last couple of weeks, I saw just barely over $100 come in online in one day. Twice I've looked in the last couple of weeks, just barely over like $120. And I'm thinking, we're broadcasting 24/7, incredible content. And that's what comes in. Now, again, I have to tell you, there are many of you that are very, very generous when it comes to your giving via the check. So I will have to admit that's still going on, thankfully. In fact, most of our giving comes in by check. But we need many of you to please support what we're doing. Hello, Dolly. Please, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Please go there and support what we're doing. Don't forget, you can also support us by supporting your health with Numi. That's got glutathione in it to detox yourself. Gatatana, that's a powerful phytoplankton. I take it every day. Dolly gets half a scoop on her food. Bella Grace, they have many great products, including, of course, my favorite of all their products is Bella Grace, the elixir, with 3 very, very powerful ingredients. So again, please, melissaprotein.com, Worldview Talk for your solar generator, satellite phone, bulletproof backpack. Again, why would you not send the kids to school, whether that's elementary, secondary, high school, or college, university? Why would you not? Why would you yourself not carry a bulletproof backpack in this crazy, dangerous world we're living in? Make sure you have water filters. Yesterday, I talked about mifepristone, the morning after pill, if you will, the abortion pill showing up in the water supply. No wonder so many young people are having a hard time conceiving. No wonder we have the fertility problems we have in America. Much less do you want to be taking that, along with all the other toxins there? Worldviewwater.net, worldviewwater.net. We also have no idea what's coming in the future with the disruption of our just-in-time inventory. Make sure you have your own medical kits on hand with your antibiotics. Again, since we get way too many of our antibiotics in. Pharmaceuticals from China, be your own. Urgent care, worldviewhealthcare.com, worldviewhealthcare.com. We got to get going. We have a lot to do tonight. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, get our True Social, let everybody know. We have an amazing panel coming up. First, Nick Polsher. Let's get going. Joining me now is Nick Polsher. Nick, welcome to the broadcast again. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Nick, I want to get your response on a couple of things. One of them, of course, is the latest on Fauci. I guess this guy knew this thing likely came from a lab leak, correct? But he didn't he played it down to the president back in 2020?
Correct. He knew this whole time, but on the public face, he was claiming it came from a bat, from a wet market, which he knew was absolute BS. And for years, he was falsely pushing the bat leak or the
bat soup,
the bat soup narrative. Yeah,
is his voice high enough? I don't know. Make sure the audience can hear him. All right. So he knew what he was doing. Have they started the hearings? Has he been put under oath yet and subjected to questions yet, or is that coming?
That's coming tomorrow. So tomorrow, Anthony Fauci is going to be drilled on all of the latest declassifications.
So we should have you back tomorrow night, because I bet we're going to have a lot of clips to play, aren't we?
Oh, there'll be lots of clips. Is he
going to perjure himself, you think?
Oh, yeah, most definitively, because now they've declassified the documents showing he for sure funded the gain of function, despite claiming they didn't, funneling millions of taxpayer dollars for gain of function activities at Wuhan. Tulsi Gabbard declassified those a few weeks ago, and so that demonstrates that. And so they're going to push him. They're going to ask him, so did you fund gain of function research? And he's going to be put in a pickle, because if he says yes, then he confirmed that he lied previously under oath. And if he says no, they didn't, well, we have the documents showing, well, yeah, he did. And
so he's in big trouble. Legally, he's in big trouble either way.
Yeah, he's in major trouble. Now, here's what I think.
Now, has he been pardoned by Fauci? Did Fauci get pardoned at all by Biden?
Yes, he received an auto pen pardon, either by some sort of electronic pen or some staffer or some machine. We don't know exactly. But the so-called President Joe Biden, he did not sign that pardon. It was in the last hours of the presidency. And it just covers the crimes committed for the past 10 years from the date of that pardon. And so any crimes now he commits as he comes in front of Congress tomorrow, he'll face some real accountability.
You think These guys never go to jail. These guys never get charged. Only the peons like you and I get charged.
No, yeah, exactly. He's been untouchable. But, now they're making such a big stir about this. It's all you'll see on X. It's all you'll see. Even Donald Trump, they're having him talk about it on Fox News interviews today. And so they're really pushing this hard. I think they'll use him as a scapegoat. They'll throw him under the bus. Even CNN might start to attack him. And they'll use that to basically deflect blame that, no, we didn't do anything wrong. It was only Fauci. And so that's the angle I think they'll take. Now, here's a prediction I have. There is a possibility, a non-zero possibility, that Anthony Fauci doesn't show up tomorrow. There'll be some medical emergency or some weird reason and he's not going to show up. But I don't know.
All right. Let's talk real quick about another story at your website, thefocalpoints.com. And that is international study finds 75% of embalmers observed white fibrous clots in corpses. Former Pennsylvania Funeral Director Association President Chris Calvey Jr., former Air Force Major Thomas Evelyn, I think I've interviewed him, and embalmer Richard Hirschman joined me to discuss. And that me is you, Nick. Tell us about this, please.
Yeah, so now it's undeniable. The white fibrous clots are real and the white fibrous clots are prevalent. And so what former Air Force Major Tom Haviland has done, he's done a multi-year survey, 4 years long across 5 countries. And he's obtained the observations of 800 embalmers across the world. And he found that 75% of them have now seen these white fibrous anomalous clots coming out of corpses when they're embalming them. They barely saw them or they never saw them before the vaccines rolled out. The vaccines rolled out, then all of a sudden, all the embalmers start to pull out these extraordinarily long, strange clots. They're white, they're rubbery, they don't break apart, and they don't belong in the human body. And more disturbingly is among all these embalmers, about 25% of all of the corpses contain the white fibrous clots. So that's a lot of people. So that means people are walking around who receive these shots that do have these strange clots inside of them. We believe it's actually misfolded fibrin. Fibrin's a protein involved in blood clotting. And so we believe this protein's actually becoming disformed and going into what's called an amyloid-like state. And what that means is so you get injected with the mRNA shot, your body produces the spike protein. The spike protein then starts to travel throughout your blood vessels. But when the spike protein interacts with fibrin, it makes it deformed. And then once that fibrin is deformed, it's going to interact with other fibrin proteins and make those deformed. And then all of a sudden you end up with these giant masses of deformed proteins.
Let's go back to Fauci real quick. Did he in his diary talk about himself being having some kind of reaction to the clot shot?
Yes. So basically what happened was, well, first of all, Anthony Fauci presumably received 2 mRNA Moderna injections. And now with his diary released, we see he suffered a pulmonary infarction from a pulmonary embolism. So basically tissue in his lungs died off because there was a giant blood clot in his lungs. And so that was revealed in his diary. He didn't tell anybody about this. He didn't tell the public. While at the same time, he was pushing mRNA mandates on millions of Americans. And so that he's literally a sociopath. He gets severely injured by the shots, and then he still goes and tells little babies, school children to take them.
Which, again, who does that? Who does that? If you've just been injured by the shot yourself, is he so dumb that he doesn't realize it was the shot that injured him, or you think he knows it?
I think he probably knows it. He probably knows it because it's literally an established side effect of these shots is blood clotting, and pulmonary embolism is one of those circumstances. Now, he may have been so disillusioned, thinking he's some grand hero, like he revealed in his diary as well, thinking he's the best in the world, that maybe he did think, it wasn't related. But regardless, he's very foolish. And now, now the whole world is watching him. They've read his thoughts, his sociopathic thoughts of he has delusions of grandeur. He was thinking he was some godlike scientific figure. And really, he was a demonic-like scientific figure.
Mm-hmm. Can you, you state in your post, you've got forced deadly mRNA shots on millions through illegal mandates, suppressed life-saving treatments like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, promoted lethal hospital protocols for patients like remdesivir and ventilators, imposed country-destroying lockdowns that devastated millions, funded gain-of-function experiments that resulted in a pandemic and covered it up with the CIA. Being that he seemed to have been influenced by the Jesuits, I think by his own video we've played, do you think he's a creature of the CIA? And do you think the CIA knew what they were doing? And were they doing this in order to justify mail-in ballots to get rid of President Trump? Because they seem to also be suppressing all the voter fraud, according to President Trump. So it seems as though the CIA was involved in this with Fauci. This was all an orchestra, which really means after President Trump is gone, I doubt this whole deep state's been cleaned out. We're going to be left with people that were systematically seeking to overthrow the government, carry out a coup d'etat, a color revolution, and kill millions of Americans. And how do you think that fares for people like you and me and the rest of this audience? I mean, I see no way, I don't want it. I see no way out of a civil war, or we all agree, hey, we're breaking up. Texas, Tennessee, a few other states, we're leaving the union. I see no way out of it, because to not do that is to be left under the thumb of a government that still got a shadow government there that was systematically involved in a coup d'etat and color revolution and killing millions of Americans. If indeed the CIA was, as I've been reporting with the letters of like Congressman Jim Posey, involved in voter fraud and electronic computer fraud overseas in elections and bringing it home. And then as President Trump's now put out in the last couple of weeks, cleaning up his daily briefing. If indeed he was working with the CIA, as you're saying in your X post, then when Trump is out of the office, if you don't have someone come in to rein these people in and you turn it over to a Gavin Newsom or to Kamala, I guess, word salad, Kamala's planning on running again. I mean, the handwriting's on the wall. You kiss the country goodbye. I mean, we're going to all be punitively, charged, harassed, threatened, debanked, deplatformed. I mean, we're going to be right back where we were, and worse, because the Marxist Democrats have become even more militant than they were 4 years ago. They're more delusional and deranged than they were 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The biomedical deep state is still there, and they're very much still in control. Contrary to what some may believe, we have to remember there's still giving mRNA injections to 6-month-old babies, right? They haven't allowed Secretary Kennedy to stop that fully. And so they are still very much in control. And you're right, they just see, Trump and Kennedy and all these newly installed people as transients that are going to go away in a few years. And then, right back now when some deranged lunatic gets back in, they're going to unleash their next wave of biopharmaceutical attack on the population, as they've already done with COVID-19 and the injections. And so they'll do the same thing with, say, a weaponized Nipah virus or a weaponized fungus or what have you. And so they really need to be completely rooted out and, removed from these power structures, because you're right, they're still there.
Let's talk real quick about intravenously administered vitamin C as a cancer therapy. Talk to us about that, please.
Yeah, this is a very promising thing. So basically, there's hundreds of studies showing vitamin C has potent anti-cancer effects in the body through four major mechanisms. The main one is basically supercharging your immune cells to fight off a cancer, and the other main one is literally the vitamin C induces what's called oxidation in selectively cancer cells and eliminates them. And so basically what this study was it was a case series of 3 advanced cancer patients. These advanced cancer patients, all of them received high dose IV vitamin C, ranging from about 25 grams twice a week to 75 grams twice a week. And all these patients, they experienced long-term remission of their advanced metastatic cancers with the IV vitamin C. One of them didn't receive anything, just received the vitamin C. And you'll see her lung tumors before, they're called cannonball tumors in her lungs. She took the vitamin C. And then a few months later, the cannonball tumors disappeared, and her remission lasted for 4 years. We had 2 other cases there. One of them received radiation, so it wasn't just the vitamin C. One of them had surgery and also vitamin C. But those 2 individuals, their remission lasted for 9 to 10 years. So it appears, high dose vitamin C is looking like a very powerful cancer treatment, or at least adjunctive cancer treatment. People want to still, go the alternative way. You can add this on to yours and it dramatically improves outcomes. We even had a randomized trial come out recently. It doubled the survival time in stage 4 pancreatic cancer patients. And so they lived twice as long as those who didn't get the vitamin C.
They could cure cancer in most people if they wanted to, I believe, don't you?
Oh, yeah, most definitively. And, the problem is if they cure cancer, all the cancer industry will completely collapse. It's all based on chemotherapy and these mainstay treatments that have been around since like the 60s. And so if there's a cure, that's all they will go bankrupt, and they control all of the institutions. They control the medical journals. And so they're not going to let that happen.
Yeah. What would they do with all those facilities they've built all over the country, right?
Exactly. They might have to sell it off.
Into apartment complexes or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go back to his page. There it is if you want to follow him, at Nick Holscher, epidemiologist Nick Holscher. He's also the administrator of the McCullough Foundation. Nick Holscher, little Nick at night. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, Nick. All right, guys, we'll be right back after this short break.
At a certain age, you stop chasing younger. You start protecting what helps you feel steady, strong, and well. Your body's collagen matters. It supports the structure of your skin, joints, and connective tissue. But as the years go by, your body needs more support from the inside. That's where Bella Grace Elixir comes in. Bella Grace Elixir combines Verisol collagen, the world's most clinically proven collagen, with Asteryl astaxanthin and cat's claw in a proprietary blend designed to help support the processes that reconstruct collagen, while also offering antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And this isn't just for women. It's for men and women who want to age with more confidence, more care, and a daily wellness routine that supports the body from within. One simple elixir, thoughtfully formulated for whole body wellness. Take care of the body that has carried you this far. Order Bella Grace Elixir today at melissahousebg.com.
Joining me now in studio is Aaron Levarco, our reporter from Israel, who is now in the Mid-South. He's been touring the U.S. for the last few weeks, traveling, and we're glad to have him in studio. Also joining us are Anni Cyrus and Shahram Hadian. Guys, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Brennan.
Thank you,
Aaron,
Brennan.
great to have you in studio, by the way, Aaron. You like all of our Israeli flags, Aaron? Like all those?
I almost feel at home here.
Uh-huh.
It's very special. It's beautiful, actually. It just, and the colors, they kind of go with the American flag.
They
as
do
well.
go well together. They sure do. And of course, we had our flag, our Israeli flag. You saw that flying when you arrived at our studio, right?
I saw it outside. I was
Mhm.
like, wow, this is special.
One of my friends who lives in the area who we met, she said when I sent her a picture of our American flag and Israeli flag flying outside our studio, she said, how ironic. I'm Jewish. I'm afraid to fly the flag, but you're not. I'm like, no, I'm not afraid. I'm not
That is
afraid.
ironic.
What do you make of that, Shahram?
I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you guys for flying that flag. It is for us time to be bold on God's word. Like you said, no time for hiding for what we believe and standing on God's word. And also to show all these people that make these ridiculous claims about that Israeli flag, that it's just that. It's the ridiculous claims.
And if I really want to confuse people, I should put up the Iranian flag with the lion.
The Persian flag.
The Persian flag with the
all
lion.
Three. Exactly.
Wouldn't that confuse a lot of people?
Well, it depends. It might confuse, it might make him curious because that's what I have in my front yard. On the very top, I have the American flag. In the middle is the sun and lion Persian flag. And then beneath that is the Israeli flag.
And what do people say to you?
I have had curious neighbors who have asked if I am, Jewish by blood, Persian by birth, American by citizenship. And he was pretty smart. I was like, yeah, that works for me. Let's go with that. That's the story.
Hey,
But then you
Brandon,
have people who will try to take down the entire flagpole from your building.
Wow.
Can I just say?
Well, it's on camera, so if anyone tries, go ahead. You'll be turned into an international news story. So go ahead, try it. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, I just want to say thank you for putting those flags up. And these days it's a risk. I just came from a place yesterday. I was speaking to an American girl who works for the American Air Force, and she said about 95% of the people she works with hate Israel.
95% in the Air Force.
95%.
In the Air Force.
In the Air Force.
Yeah, see, now you're just confirming for us something that is of great concern. I mentioned last week I talked to a family friend. We've known him probably since he was, 5 or 6 years old. He's now in his 20s. And a family member called me, I was with him, and put him on the phone because he's like, he's buying all the anti-Semitic lies. Maybe you can convince him otherwise. Well, I spent 5 or 6 minutes trying to have a conversation with him, and he was glad to hear from me, and he was friendly and cordial as always. But I'm like, you just need to get educated. You're listening to lies. This is all absolutely based on lies. Now, this young man, I think, is in the Army. Now, Aaron, you're saying this person's in the Air Force. I'm telling you right now, Aaron and Annie and Shahram, that if the red-green axis takes over America, they already have, I think, a big number, a big percentage of the U.S. military on their side ideologically, who would be more than happy to take the orders to deal with the Jews and the Christians. And that's in our military. I mean, that's so concerning because we are at a position where we could see our U.S. military being taken over by a DSAer. You want to comment on that first, Shahram?
100% agreed. As we talked about earlier today on radio, not only do we see this, and by the way, just quick history lesson for anybody out there. Oftentimes you talk about my dad's backstory of being in the military in Iran. This is exactly what he was seeing. This is one of the warning signs that he saw, that the Iranian military was being changed from within, with who was being brought in, from the United States to advise them. And that's one of the signs that he was seeing, that this was not going in the right direction. So now you're warning about this sign in the United States military. And earlier today, we warned about what's going on in our police departments with the Muslim takeover of many of these police departments. So you put those two together, and now, as you said, the foundation's there for them to do roundups. And maybe they do internment camps for us at first before we get dealt with other ways. But I don't see why that would be far-fetched, what you just said.
You want to speak to that, Annie?
Sure. I think what you meant to say, Brandon, was not if, was when on January 2027, Red Green Axis get a hold of our majority offices, then yes, they're definitely, and it's not just the military. I believe they have enough alliances in everywhere, schools, universities, medical professions, everywhere. They have definitely gained momentum. I mean, how else do you explain the races? By races, I mean the primaries, and also the lack of pushback or lack of competition, because they have already won the narrative. Next step is to win offices, and then after that, just turn their own allies against not just Israel and Jews, but Christians and Americans too.
You mentioned January 2027, just so everyone understands, because that's when anyone that won or anyone that wins in November of this year will be sworn in January of 2027. How big of a loss are you anticipating? Some polls are showing now that the Democrats have come out with this DSA agenda. This is really going to backfire and may actually help. And with some of the rulings by the courts, but then we got another ruling that we're concerned about related to the Supreme Court and waiting on, I guess, what they're going to do in regards to some of the policies by the Trump administration to secure the way we vote. But what do you see happening in the midterms, Shahram?
Oh, that's a great question. I can see Annie's point, where right now it seems like she said, the momentum, because two things are very troubling. One is in these primaries, you have usually primaries obviously have very low voter turnout. The DSA, the Red Green Access, they have machines. So all of that apparatus that you saw, supposedly protesting on college campuses, and all of their protests that they had, which were really violent insurrection, they weren't protests. That's the machine that they've now turned into their voting apparatus. Their doorbelling, their local campaigning, their ballot harvesting, and all the stuff they're doing locally. Number two, the Muslims are bragging, Brandon, that their voter turnout in some of these places, like in New York, were upwards of 75%. So if you're really doing well, if you can get 30% voter turnout of your people during a primary, you're doing really well. If they're getting 70, 75%. So presuming that number goes, that I can see Annie's point. My problem with the backfire aspect of this is that right now there's a lot of frustration against Republicans, right? Conservatives are extremely frustrated with Congress, with even to some extent with the president, on how things haven't been done. So, I think I got to go with right now. It seems like we're going to have massive losses, but, it's possible it could flip the other way. But that's if we can get voter turnout. And if you can, like you said, preclude some of this cheating that is going to continue depending on how the Supreme Court rules with ballots.
All right.
If I could come in for 1 second, I completely see where you're coming from, Shahram John, but here's my point of view. Regardless of who shows up for midterm, we cannot look away. A history has been made in America during this primary, and I'm referring to Shahram Hadian, the translator of the Blind Sheikh. This man has won primary in United States of America.
Where?
New Jersey. For Congress.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Blind
local,
Sheikh,
it wasn't a state. Go ahead.
The Blind Sheikh was the mastermind behind the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center.
Yes, and also his blueprint was copied heavily for September 11th. So the point is, we can have the hopes. We are to always have hope, not false hope, but hope. But the bottom line is, United States of America has reached a point where frustrated conservatives rather sit home and let this man win a primary. Mm-hmm. That is my problem with America today, not the outcome of midterm.
But Brandon, just from running a campaign before, what I'm referring to here is the fact that we have to remember their they're right now, the DSA is winning Democrat primaries, right? So they're defeating incumbents. Predominantly, one of their top issues, obviously, is on Israel. So what we saw in New York, what we saw in the DC mayor's race, what we saw in Colorado with the unseating of that 15-term Democrat incumbent. So what your point is will that translate over to the general election? That's what we're trying to see. And that's my point, is that the apathy on our side, or the frustration on our side, if that drives our voter turnout, that meaning it's going to be low, that's what's really, really troubling from that perspective. But Annie's right in that these are historic wins. These are monumental shifts. With Mamdani, obviously, as probably the biggest, most well-known shift, but you see it with all these DSAers that many of them are also Muslims or being funded. Like the gal in Colorado, we know almost $500,000 of her funding came from Islamic sources in that primary. So they're working together again. And that's why this is troubling. Like Annie's point, regardless of the outcome, this is really bad news for our future politically.
And let's go to the guy running for, he's running for U.S. Senate in Michigan, right? The fake doctor.
Abdel El-Sayed. Yes, Abdel El-Sayed.
Tell our audience
Which, by the
him.
way, did you see that he was just endorsed by a group of Baptists?
Mm-hmm.
So the Baptist Association in Michigan endorsed Abdel El-Sayed for the Senate position. So when we talk about the dangers of this interfaith, multi-faith deception, and when we say that ultimately the people like this, or like a James White, are the ones who are burying us in a hole in this country, it is the so-called church. Look, no surprise the left is behind Abdel El-Sayed. No surprise that the LGBTQ is behind Abdel El-Sayed. But when you have so-called Baptist organizations coming and endorsing this guy, you know we are in trouble. You know how compromised America is. And so right now, it's looking like he's going to be the next U.S. Senator from the state of Michigan.
And tell our audience about him, for those who don't know.
Well, Abdel El-Sayed, I mean, he's a medical doctor. He's a good-looking guy.
Is he? Because I've heard some calling him a fake doctor, et cetera. Is he?
Well, his background, I mean, that's his bio. I mean, his bio is that he's a doctor. Whether, but he's born here, from my understanding, right? So he's from here. Remember when he ran for governor? Let's not forget, he ran for governor of the state of Michigan. At that time, Patrick, what's his name? You have him on a show. Colbeck had exposed him when he was running for governor. He lost that primary at that time. But now, a lot has changed in a few years. People were predicting that he was an Obama 2.0, very articulate, but he has deep connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. He is deeply tied in at the upper. In fact, Linda Sarsour just came out and did a briefing yesterday, I think it was, talking about Abdel El-Sayed's race, talking about the fact that, the support that's coming in for him, and talking about the different avenues of support that they're seeing, and that they believe this is a huge referendum in that Senate race there. So if you have Linda Sarsour, who we've connected deeply to the upper echelon of the Muslim Brotherhood, endorsing your candidacy, this guy is Muslim Brotherhood all the way in Michigan, but very articulate, but nonetheless, completely leftist. The DSA is, from my understanding, has endorsed him. So he is officially, I think, a DSA candidate running there for Senate in Michigan.
What do you want to say about him, Annie? Anything?
Sorry.
Well, I can tell you that he is really a doctor, regardless of what people say. He actually got his PhD from Oxford University on, what is that major when you're an expert on COVID?
Oh, epidemiologist? Epidemiologist?
Yes, that's where he got his PhD. And then I think Columbia University is where he got his physician degree. So he's a real doctor. But yes, everything that Shahram said, but I would also add one thing, by the way, Shahram, why are you pulling a Trump on us? Don't say he's a good looking guy. He is not a good-looking guy. Not in my book. He's definitely not a good-looking.
No, I actually agree with you. He's not my type, by the way. It would never be my
This is
type.
not my type either.
What is your type? What is your type, Shahram?
More clean shaven, more
Tall, dark, handsome.
yeah.
Let
I'm
me
just saying that
why are you so red?
narrative
Why
out
are you
there-
so red, Shahram?
These guys,
Already,
it's always the same with Mamdani. They're always like, oh, these guys, because it's the typical, the Middle Eastern suave, good look. He's a good looking Middle Eastern guy. This is how these guys operate. Where just because he's dark, dark and see, I mean, I don't think he's. I'm not a fan of his beard. Let's not forget that Pocahontas endorsed him too.
Mm-hmm.
So here you have Pocahontas endorsed him. Who is that? Is that a senator or congressman on his right?
That's the U.S. senator from Virginia who ran with Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
What is his name? McKay? No, not McKay.
What is his name?
Van
Logan?
Hollen.
Chris Van
Van Hollen.
No, that is not Chris Van Hollen. That's the U.S. senator from Virginia who ran with Hillary Clinton. That's really him?
No, he's right.
You're right.
He's right.
Well,
That is
Van Hollen.
wow,
Van
I
Hollen.
stand corrected. But Logan, show me the U.S. senator from Virginia. They're like twin brothers. What was the name of that guy from Virginia, the U.S. senator from Virginia? Tell me if they don't look, Logan's looking. Tell me if they don't look awful lot alike each other.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about Hillary's
Kane.
vice president.
Kane?
Yeah, Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine.
And his hair is not normally that dark. So, wow. If you can put them next to each other. Find a video of Kaine on the floor of the Senate and put them next. I swore that was him. Wow. I have that same problem with the two actors out of Hollywood from the days gone by that I could never keep straight. They were in the Inferno, the movie Inferno.
Inferno.
We've done this
Was
before.
that,
We've done this before. Well, what are their names, Logan? One was in The Great Escape, and I can never tell those two apart. When I see them on TV, I'm like, and when you see them together, you swear it's hard to tell who's who again. Paul Newman and Steve McQueen. Yeah.
McQueen.
Yeah, I have a hard time telling those guys apart.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
And then when they were in the
Paul-
Towering Inferno together, I was like, wait a minute, which one?
Yeah, I can
It's
see
like
that.
twin brothers on the same show together.
I can see that.
Well, that's
So-
Tim McCain.
But yeah.
That's Tim Kaine with that dude there. I don't know if you get the two of them next to each other. Let's see what they look like.
Van Holten.
All right,
But yeah,
so-
just for the record,
Yeah?
I don't think he's good looking. So just for
Okay.
the record, I personally don't think he's good looking.
All right, get it out there, Shahram. Get it out there.
I'm happily married. Just FYI, happily married, have 6 children.
That's good.
And
That's good. My type is blonde, blue eyes, and tan, which is why I married who I did. So there you go.
there you go.
Hey, but seriously, if I can just say, looking at
Yes.
this and listening to the story, how can the Baptists, and of course it's not
Yes.
all the Baptists, how can this branch of Baptists endorse someone with a record and a background like that? It's unexplainable.
It is. But forgive me, but that's why I wrote the book, Religious Trojan Horse, The Coming Religious Reich and Marxianity.
Yeah.
And that's why the modern evangelical leadership hates me. Most of the modern evangelicals, the leadership, they've hated me for a long time because I was calling them out when they were running around with the New Apostolic Reformation, the false prophets, the false apostles, Interfaith Dialogue, James White, MacArthur's guys. MacArthur's head of his Grace to You ministry was defending all of this. I mean, these guys have not liked us for a long time because we have stood on the Bible, while I think they have stood on pragmatism and the good old boy club, right, Shahram? You were in that fight with us in 2017.
Absolutely. Pragmatism, part of their worldview, drives their strategy, because if they're all millennial and they're in the kingdom now, they got to work along with these Muslims. They got to find a way to find peace. But Brandon, I was just going to say, when Aaron brought that up, it was that same Baptist Association, from my understanding, that shut us down in 2019. I was scheduled to speak in Dearborn at a Baptist church with Jim Simpson, from, Red Green Access.
Mhm.
And 38 hours before, because of pressure from the Baptist Association, because of the interfaithers, from Congresswoman Dingell, I think it was at that time, and the Muslims there, including Elahi, the imam of that Dearborn Shiite mosque that is connected to the Islamic Republic, they backed out. They canceled our event. I was literally on the way to the airport when the pastor of the church called me in tears, saying his Baptist elders had overvoted him and canceled the event out of fear. So this is no surprise to us in the sense of when we see the cowardice, the compromise within these denominations and these associations. And you're right, we lived it. I mean, I was telling people when I was in Texas over the weekend, I'm like, we warned people about Yasser Qadhi. How many shows did we do, Brandon? How many times did we have you warned people about Yasser? You were warning people about Yasser Qadhi before Yasser Qadhi was even on the scene. And now the state of Texas is paying the price because of people like James White defending someone like Yasser Qadhi from Epic, now who is the head of the East Plano Islamic Center. And they're trying to build that 402-acre monstrosity Muslim-centric city. So an entire city, an entire state is paying the price because Christians didn't heed the warning that you have brought on this show through your ministry for now at least 10 years. They're paying the price.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a story. You mentioned earlier, Shahram, about they wanted peace. And it reminded me of, last week we just commemorated the destructions of our temples. I don't know if the public know, but the first and the second temples were both destroyed on exactly the same day of the Hebrew calendar, the 9th day of Av. We call it Tisha B'Av. But the first temple, when you think about it, King David and Solomon, they were the most powerful during the times of Israel's history. And it reminds me of America, how great and how mighty America have been. But a couple of 100 years later, it was King Hezekiah. He compromised. And when Sennacherib came, it says he opened up the treasures of the temple because he wanted peace with the Assyrians, and he gave them the treasures of the temple. And it wasn't long after that slippery road that he went down by opening that door ended with the destruction of the first temple. And that's what's happened. Just in the same way, during the days of David, Solomon, we were such a powerful, united nation, and yet we suffered the destruction of our temple. And here we see America couple of 100 years ago, so mighty, so powerful, and yet the compromises are opening the doors to the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is, Shahram, October 2010. Marxist, Muslims, Mormons, globalists, and Richard Land and the Southern Baptist Convention. Okay, you're talking about the Baptist. Here's 2010, the Southern Baptist Convention, and yet Land endorsed the U.S. Muslim Engagement Project and is helping to build mosques. In September 2010, the Anti-Defamation League formed an interfaith coalition to help Muslims build mosques in America. Of course, Richard Land did not pass up the opportunity to be involved. Okay, this is Southern Baptist Convention, largest Protestant denomination in America. What's down here? What am I talking about down here in this article? I end up talking about Yasser Qadhi. As you scroll down the page, let me just put in Yasser, Y-A-S. There it is, Yasser Qadhi. Right? So 2010, starting in 2010 is when I really started warning about Yasser Qadhi. So 16 years, who was I going up against? The Southern Baptist Convention and a lot of the stupid Southern Baptists in my area. And yet Yasser Qadhi was bringing to his mosque right down the road. He's now in Plano. He brought in Siraj Wahhaj, who I talked about in my Worldview report tonight, who was, if I remember correctly, an unindicted co-conspirator in the bombing of the World Trade Center. Was Siraj Wahhaj not an unindicted co-conspirator in that?
He was, 1993.
And so, and by the way, I think Mamdani was at his mosque when he was running for Brooklyn Imam.
Was
at his mosque when he was running for mayor. So 16 years I've been warning about Yasser. Let me tell you what I'm going to do when the Muslims start trying to take over Southern Baptist churches in my backyard. You know what I'm going to do? Nothing.
Nothing.
Not going to say a word, not going to do anything. Not going to be for it, but I'm not going to help them. I'm just going to watch. Because I have been criticized in my own backyard by so many so-called Christians. They don't want to understand it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. So the Southern Baptist Convention, the Christians in the Bible Belt, they're going to get what they deserve. And I'm not going to lift a finger to help them. Because I think they're going to get exactly what they deserve.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to help Christians that were lifting up a shout, involved in doing the right thing. But the complacent, apathetic, lazy, useful idiots I'm not going to spill my blood or put my family or I at risk for them, because we tried warning them 16 years ago. So good luck to them. They're on their own when it comes to us. We're not going to help them at all.
And Brandon, when earlier today during radio, Aaron, you remember you made a great point where you were talking about that we're not ready for persecution. Remember you said that earlier on radio today. Yeah. You talked about the need for the church to be ready for persecution. Brandon, these so-called denominations, these ministers, these entities, they are not only not preparing their people for persecution, they're accelerating persecution. They're aiding and abetting in the persecution, because they are aiding and abetting the very enemies that we talked about earlier on radio today are the ones who are persecuting Christians all over the world. The undisputable fact that Islam is the number one persecutor of Christians. The problem, as Aaron mentioned earlier, is it's going to happen here. It's going to happen. Just like a report just came out. I was in Texas again over the weekend, and I said, you're going to start seeing these rape gangs here. You're going to start seeing sexual assaults here by these Muslims. And it's going to happen. And then just this morning or yesterday, a report comes out of Ottawa, Canada, that now they're seeing massive rape gangs and these activities that mirror the UK in Canada. So, as you said, Brandon, at some point, you can only...
Uh-oh. Did he freeze on us? Okay, we're going to get them back. And while we are, remind you, we're brought to you by you, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Again, folks, how many networks can you turn on where you have two former Muslims born and raised in Iran, a Gentile and a Jew all sitting around? Sounds like a joke, right? You go into a bar and there's two former Muslims, a Jew and a Gentile. No, that's just Worldview 2 for you. So again, if you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You make a comment, Aaron?
Yeah, while Shahram's coming back on, I mentioned earlier a little bit about what was going on before the destruction of the first temple, but what was going on before the destruction of the second temple. There were so many different Jewish sects. We had the Zealots. I think you're like a modern day zealot, and that's a compliment. Then there were the Pharisees. They were the religious, who were concerned about religious matters only, not necessarily taking up weapons and fighting against the Romans. And then you had a big part of the Jewish community, the Sadducees. And the Sadducees were the priests, and they were the liberal theologians, Brannon. They were the ones who sided with the Romans. They were the ones who opened the door for this so-called peace. So it's very, very similar, but the result was the destruction of the temple, the destruction of the heart of the nation, the heart of the people. That's what we're seeing. And it's through compromise, it's through liberal theology, and what goes with liberal theology, which is so much compromise. The Sadducees compromised their standards. They ended up paying the Romans for the seat of the high priest. It got so bad. So it just reminds me of, and this is fresh because just last week we commemorated the destructions of our two temples.
Shahram, would you like to finish that? What you're saying?
Yeah, I was just mentioning again, regarding this place of the preparation, the signs that we see, the things that we see happening that we've talked about. I do think, Brandon, there is that continued normalcy bias. There is that denial within many of the American population that these things can't happen. They're not happening here. But when we warn, the people that should know, the people that should see what's happening are those who are supposed to be believers, spirit-filled, have the discernment of the Lord, the leading of the Holy Spirit, and they should see. If they're believers, they should have eyes to see. But when they refuse to see, when you've warned them for 16 years, when we've warned them for well over a decade, I've been traveling around this country for over 20 years, bringing these warnings. Then at some point, as you said, I was about to say, you don't cast your pearl before swine.
No.
At some point, you got to dust your feet and say, we warned you. We tried. We tried to get meetings with you guys. We tried to sit down with you and discuss and try to bring correction and education. But not only did you refuse us, you maligned us. You lied about us. You
doxed us. You doxed us.
You doxed us. And therefore, whatever happens now is the judgment and the consequence of the Lord upon that. But that's why my point earlier was they're not ready for the persecution that they've enabled to happen.
That's right.
It's on them, and God's going to hold them accountable.
Amen. And by the way, I thought it was October of 2010. I just found this, August 11th, 2010. So August 11th, 2010 was the first broadcast I could find where we start talking about Yasser Qadhi. So I thought it was October, but it was actually August 11th, 2010. So coming up on that anniversary just in a few days, 16 years of warning about this character who's now down in Plano, right? And it's just horrific what's happening there. You just returned from there. Before we move on to another topic, some very serious topics and some clips and whatnot to talk about with the Middle East and Lindsey Graham's funeral and images of Benjamin Netanyahu talking to Trump cabinet members. Before we move on to that, give us a report from what you saw being down there in Houston, Texas, last week.
Well, Houston now is the second largest Muslim population in America. By some estimates, over 500,000 Muslims live in the greater Houston area. They have now seen a massive increase in the number of mosques, some say up to 150 mosques just in that area. There's over 300 and almost 20 mosques in Texas. But one of the things I identified in Houston wasn't just that element, the takeover of places like Sugar Land that are becoming enclaves, but I also mentioned and showed them evidence that, the Sunni mosques in the area, one of the largest ones being very close to where I was in Sugar Land, is owned by the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamic Society of Greater Houston. And then I also demonstrated to them the Islamic entities, meaning the Iranian entities that are connected to the mosques and to the charter schools that are in the Houston area, praising Iran, praising the IRGC, mourning the death of Khamenei, creating these martyrs. They're celebrating Al-Quds Day in Houston. So it was a real wake-up call for them to understand that Texas is, again, target number one for the Islamic movement between Houston and Dallas area, particularly. And a lot of the Islamic Sharia financing is coming and being funneled through the Houston area, particularly from Pakistan. So this is the wake-up call that they got to understand what is happening in America. Denial is a killer right now. When people think, oh, it's Texas, it's only a small percentage, it won't happen here. People like Yasser Qadhi, Brandon, in East Plano, they have political power. They are influencing these local officials. By the way, CARE is still working locally. despite the fact that Governor Abbott has labeled the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE by executive order as foreign terrorist organizations, they're still operating at the local level because the local leaders are just flaunting it before the governor and saying, we don't care. We're going to continue to work with CARE and give them awards and give them proclamations.
And that's because I believe, Annie, those local leaders know that the governor is just doing that for political cover, that it's not really commitment. And so they know that they can get a pass, that this is all just political theater. Would you agree, Annie?
Absolutely, 100%. Not just local governments. I think across America, that's what we're witnessing. Even some cases, as you know, I believe we're witnessing the same thing in the Middle East, including what I said on your show last night. Iran knows they will get away with it because we don't actually have actions backing or words. But yes, locally, it's the same thing. Especially Abbott he has proven to just talk. Especially when it's close to either getting reelected or endorsing someone who needs to be elected. He will say everything you want to hear, but there's no action behind it at all.
Now, let me flip to this. This is coming from Memory TV. That's Middle East television. They do some great work and research. And we reported yesterday, the New York Post, many others, about the threats against President Trump's family, his wife, his children. And we need to be praying, obviously, for the president and his family. But this is exactly why local leaders, so-called pastors, the average American, this is why they start to become silent and even go along to get along, thinking, well, if this is the trend, then go ahead and get on their good side, and so that you don't fall on the bad side. So I think that these threats against the president's family, specifically this one about his wife, this is the propaganda, the fear campaign that causes many Americans to lose their stomach, and they're just like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to say anything. I don't want Shahram coming to my church. I don't want him speaking. I don't want the threats. I don't want the possible problems that come with that. This is what Memory is putting out. Here we go.
جوش داده می شوند. تیم پیشرو حفاظت مسیرهای اضطراری نزدیکترین بیمارستان‌های دارای مرکز.
I'm going to stop right there. What I want you to notice, folks, is I'm going to back it up a little bit here.
Yeah, back it up a little bit.
I want you to notice in the transcripts, okay? I want you to listen to the transcript, and I want you to notice what's going on here, because Shahram and I were talking earlier. I am really concerned that what we got here is a mole inside the Trump administration. Let's start over. Here we go. I'm going to back it up even more. Here we go. Put out July 27th, 2026. Read the transcript.
اسناد به کار رفته در این ویدیو حاصل استخراج اطلاعات از چند شبکه امنیتی ناشناس و تصاویر ماهواره‌ای است. تیم حفاظت ملانیا ترامپ مستقل از رئیس جمهور آمریکا عمل می‌کند. سرویس مخفی نیز برای او به جای رمز سنتی مرغ مقلد شناسه اختصاصی میوز را به کار می‌برد. علاقه شدید ملانیا به داشتن ظاهری هماهنگ با استانداردهای مد به بزرگترین نقطه ضعف زندگیش تبدیل شده است. ملانیا علاقه خاصی به فروشگاه‌های زنجیره‌ای لوکس خیابان پنجم منهتن نیویورک نظیر برگدورف گودمن و ساکس فیفت آنیو دارد. این مکان‌ها می‌تواند برای عملیات آزادیخواهان جهان مناسب باشد. نشانه‌هایی که از قبل مشخص می‌کند ملانیا به این مراکز خواهد رفت و می‌توانید برای عملیات آماده باشید این است که برای جلوگیری از کارگزاری تله‌های انفجاری تمامی سطل‌های زباله در طول مسیر جمع‌آوری شده و در پوش‌های فاضلاب و مجاری زیرزمینی به طور کامل جوش داده می‌شوند. تیم پیشرو حفاظت مسیرهای اضطراری نزدیکترین بیمارستان‌های دارای مرکز ترومای سطح 1 را شناسایی و با نیروهای امدادی محلی هماهنگ می‌کنند. آشنایی با افراد حاضر در این بیمارستان‌ها یا استخدام در آنها می‌تواند اطلاعات حضور ملانیا را در اختیار شما بگذارد. در برخی مواقع او خریدهای خود را آنلاین از فروشگاه‌های ساکس فیفت آنیو در پلاک 611 خیابان پنجم، دیور در پلاک 23 خیابان 57 شرقی، نبش خیابان مدیسون، مایکل کورس در پلاک 610 خیابان پنجم، دولچه اند گابانا در پلاک 695 خیابان مدیسون و شعبه دیگرش در پلاک 717 خیابان پنجم انجام می‌دهد. راهکار انجام عملیات در خرید آنلاین، جذب شدن در این فروشگاه‌ها و مسموم کردن لباس هاست. برای آلوده کردن لباس ها می توانید از عامل عصبی VX استفاده کنید. مایع روغنی، بی‌بو و بی‌مزه که از طریق لمس پوست وارد بدن شده و بعد از 2 الی 18 ساعت طعمه را از پای در می آورد. هسته اصلی طراحی لباس ها و استایل او نیز متشکل از هرو پیر، مردخای آلوو و نیکول بیرل است. پیشنهاد مبالغ کلان می تواند این افراد را وسوسه کند. این تازه اول راه است. بارون ترامپ منتظر ما باشد.
Good night. I'm seeing that for the first time. Are you, Aaron?
I am. I'm in shock.
Good grief. I don't know about, and again, for those who say, well, why are you airing this? Because it's everywhere, okay? And again, it's already out there, so it's not like we're giving anybody information. It's there. I don't know about the accuracy of, I don't know about the accuracy of her code names and all that kind of thing. I don't know. But I'll tell you a couple of things to point out is encouraging them to get to know the staff at the hospital. Now,
or being hired by the hospital.
Or being hired by the hospital. And Annie, remember last week when I had Robert Spencer on? Robert Spencer talked about being poisoned when he was overseas. Where was he? Do you remember where
Iceland.
he was? Iceland, speaking.
Iceland.
And when it was really well promoted that he was coming to town. And he says the ER doctor was a Muslim dude that knew him because he had been so well publicized on the press that he was coming to town. And Robert, of course, is so recognizable. And he feels like he wasn't getting the treatment he deserved because the doctor was sympathetic to the Islamic cause. That's what he told me last week. Do you remember that, Annie?
Oh, I do, yes. I even remember the original event when it took place. And when it took him a few days to talk about it himself. But as we were getting the news off public eyes, I do remember specifically one person saying it was simply through a handshake. It was poisoned through a handshake.
Well, and that brings us to, and again, I don't know the technology. Logan, can you look up the ability to, are you listening? Can you please look up the ability to put a plastic glove on your hand?
You don't need that.
You don't need that?
You don't. No, the person, can I give that information?
Well, yeah, but look up real quick. There is technology allows you, and maybe it's old technology, but you would put it on your hand, and the sticky side obviously would go down on your hand to hold it on there, and you couldn't see it. And you could then shake hands, and then, of course, the person had to be very careful. But I've seen that before. Now, again, there may be newer technology that Annie knows about. Go ahead, Annie.
Well, no, I was going to say you don't even need to have any layer of protection because, as you saw, the liquid form or even the powder form, which is very invisible and you can't feel it, it takes 2 to 18 hours. Now, some take 4 to 24 hours. Some take 7 to 72 hours to kill the person. So you can actually put it on your skin, do the handshake, do the back rub, whatever it is. And if you have the antidote in your car, you just go inject yourself. Okay. You're good to go. Mm-hmm. You got 2 to 4 hours, minimum 2, maximum 4 hours until it even shows any symptoms. So you don't even need to go there.
And wonder what the symptoms look like. And this comes back as they had the funeral services today for Lindsey Graham. Did he shake somebody's hand 2 to 18 hours earlier overseas and then come home and die?
Or maybe even inside the flight. Again, when I originally broke the news about Mukhtar Unit in your show, Brannon, I said, I know nobody's going to take him serious, but these people are serious. Mm-hmm. They did not take their training in back alleys of Qatar. Go ahead, Shahram.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. I was just going to say, do you guys remember, though, because when we were talking about the story, it reminded me, this happened in 2017. It was suspected that an agent of North Korea it was like an airport or something in Malaysia had gone up to somebody that was part of it says here, the woman suspected of fatally poisoning a scion of North Korea's ruling family were trained to coat their hands with toxic chemicals, then wipe them on his face, police said Wednesday, announcing they were now seeking a North Korean diplomat in connection with the attack. So that prompted me to remember this already happened. And this was back in 2017. that they had this ability, that the specific poison was then challenged to identify, because if you don't identify it within, a very short period of time, it's too late. It's already done the damage. And as we're talking about, they may die in a few hours, they may die in a day, but they're going to die because it's already too late and it's already in their body. So that already happened. The North Koreans already supposedly, according to this and according to what had happened, have already used that tactic to kill someone from the ruling family.
I want to go back to this video. Take a listen here. I want to talk about this. Here we go.
جذب شدن در این فروشگاه‌ها و مسموم کردن لباس هاست. برای آلوده کردن لباس ها می توانید از عامل عصبی VX استفاده کنید. مایع روغن.
All right, so a nerve agent, you put it on the clothes. It's odorless, it's tasteless. It's an oily substance, they said. Now, again, think about if we see Americans in any of these places dying, most hospitals aren't going to pick up on it, and most Americans aren't going to know. You just had private civilians die who just went shopping because they had laced the clothes, planning and hoping that Melania Trump would get a hold of them, but she didn't. Private citizens did. And people die, and no one thinks, oh, they had a heart attack, or they had this, they had that. And no one realizes that person just died from a terrorist attack. And I have to wonder how many Americans have died in America due to terrorist attacks. It's just not reported as such because maybe even the medical authorities don't know.
Well, a lot of time they do the test on, as you said, people before they go for the main target. But one thing about that subtitle, you see, it actually, the proper word it's said on the video in Farsi, it's the same thing with the hospitals. When it says to be attracted to these stores is if you get the job, so you fulfill the online order. So I'm not saying what you're saying wouldn't happen, but the specific of the video is get hired at these locations so you can fulfill the order, so you can put that oily substance on the clothes you're shipping to her. Now, I could...
But it also was talking about her liking to go to those places.
Well, that one, that's the thing. That one is not so super secret. Like, if you know where to dig, you find that information. And also, unfortunately, we also have a lot of people in America. I'm not blaming them, but by nature of human nature, they do brag. Oh, guess who comes to my store? Such and such. Like when I worked at the baby store, upscale baby store in North Hollywood, our co-workers would actually take selfies with celebrities and post it like, look who just came into our workplace. So that part isn't super sensitive at all. What bothers me about their information is, one, as you said, if the code names are correct. Two, the fact that they know the routines, meaning someone has been watching. All the trash cans are removed on the day of her arrival. That is someone watching, unless, as you said, and Shahram said, someone is leaking information. That's part of the protocol.
Well, we already know the CIA was cleansing President Trump's daily briefings back in 2020 related to CCP actions, voter election. I mean, we know we have the report by the State Department last week that Cuba has penetrated at the highest levels of our government. So you have to know that right now there are high-level moles inside our government, including likely the Secret Service. I have a hard time believing, again, they've cleaned out the Secret Service after what happened to President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. That was clearly an inside job, right?
Yes, but the good news is, at least from my point of analysis, when you watch this video, if you watch it over and over and pay attention, there are two very major details that are completely missing and could absolutely topple this plan. Okay? And I'm not going to say what they are. No need to teach them what they're missing. But the point is, those missing pieces tell me that they do have a leak from the department, not her exact team. If the leak was coming from her team, those two missing pieces would be inside this video to make this absolutely bulletproof. It's not. And also, they don't have access into the White House also. Because the bare minimum, this one is okay to say, the bare minimum is, I know as a citizen in America that any package ever arriving to pass through the gate of White House is scanned completely
Yeah, and it's scanned at a different location, by the way.
for different substance, not just because it's odorless doesn't mean you get the package. So the online order thing falls right away. They're going to catch it. And most likely they're going to trace it right back to you because most likely you have your fingerprint. If not, the address of a store is there. They're going to line everybody up and figure out who it was.
Shahram?
So yes, they do have someone giving them information. Go on, Shahram.
Well, I was just going to say, I think there's two parts also. One is they said based on satellite information. So if they're tracking the movement, which they could by satellite, the question is which satellite? Is this coming from Chinese satellites, Russian satellites? Is the regime, more than likely getting support there? We know that they used the satellite blocking technology from China to shut down the satellite and the internet back in January of this year when the country was blacked out. So if they're getting technology from the Chinese to block out satellites, could they be getting help from the Chinese? But the other thing is, if you watch the Trump video that they put out last week, I had played it on my show. The Trump video specifically says to get Trump in Mar-a-Lago. So it doesn't say in DC or in New York, but they specifically say in Mar-a-Lago because they were highlighting the fact that, okay, if he lands at the airport there in
West Palm.
What is that? West Palm. And then from there, they're going to Mar-a-Lago. And if the security measures are more lax in Mar-a-Lago than they would be at the White, because Annie's right. I mean, at the White House, anybody who's been to the White House knows the security measures, all of the things that they have at the White House, but this is talking about outside. So, but I just look at these and go, man, they are very detailed. They're very specific. It communicates more than likely either, again, the satellite imagery is coming from a country that has the ability to share that information if they're actually tracking their movement and showing patterns. This is why, by the way, when I go places, just from, not that I'm in anybody, but when I go places, I intentionally try to go different routes every time. I don't try to have any patterns when I travel. So if I go to speak at a church, I will go a different way home. I will change my way of getting there, the way of getting back to my hotel, so that there's no pattern in my behavior. And this is one of the things that I'm always concerned about for my family, because typically your family, your wife has more patterns. They're usually, okay, they're here with the kids on these days, or they're here at homeschool or whatever. So that's something that we all should be careful about, by
100%.
the way, just FYI, is not trying to have patterns in our travel to not give them any ability to track us in this type of detailed way. But to me, this communicates some sort of a leak.
And we know from Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, the late Dr. Pry, that North Korea has 2 satellites that come over the U.S. 2, North Korea. Of course,
I was just about to say there is no way they're getting those satellite images. Iran does not have that capability, nor do they have that access. They are definitely getting it from one of their friends somewhere.
Yeah.
So yes, that makes sense.
Let's switch the funeral today, Lindsey Graham. Here, let's go to this video. This is going all viral. Everyone wants to try to say that here's Benjamin Netanyahu giving orders to the team here, Hegseth, Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent. What's the dude, the Secretary of Commerce on the bottom right? What's his name?
Lutnick.
Lutnick. Thank you. I don't think that's what's going on. Others have read the lips. They claim he's basically saying, again, I don't read lips, but they're saying Netanyahu is telling him, I've done everything I can to try to convince him not to sell F-35s to Turkey. I don't know if some of your lip readers have at it. Here we go. whatever was being discussed, it didn't intrigue Marco too much. He turned away. He wasn't too intrigued. I have to think if he was talking about F-35s in Turkey, he wouldn't have turned away. Do you? Shahram?
Yeah, I mean, you could see that whatever he said kind of annoyed them. If I was trying to look at body language, Hegstead kind of gets a little bit agitated with him right about here, where he kind of disagrees. And when he does that, when Netanyahu does that with his eyes, but the fact that Rubio completely, look at him.
Look at that face.
Yeah.
Whatever, he just completely disengaged.
Totally. And then does a full circle and then maybe rethinks it. Maybe he's like, maybe I shouldn't turn my back on, on Netanyahu.
What do you make of this, Aaron? That's your prime minister.
Well, no, I think maybe what Shahram said at the end there, maybe he said something and it was a heavy thing and he turned away and then he thought about it again. And I don't know. I don't read lips either, but who knows?
Let's go back to Aaron. Came out today that one of your guys, I think it's your defense minister, or one of them came out today, and we still find the article, and said that you guys are being held back. Yeah, your defense minister, the U.S. is blocking us from fighting Iran. What do you make of this report?
The fact that he came out publicly saying that, he was saying it for the audience. And he was, being transparent, letting people know where Israel is at. He's also letting the Iranians know where Israel is at. He's saying, we're ready to go. We're only being held back by the Americans. So I think it was a deliberate statement for the Iranians to keep on their toes and don't test us. Don't fire anything at us. Because if you do, it's not going to be down to whether Donald Trump holds us back or not. So, yeah. And I don't know if he was upset about it. I think he was probably just saying it for the Iranians. I don't know if he was upset about it. If we don't need to get involved, fine. However, the nation are growing very tired, very weary. We want to finish this off. For the last 2 weeks, the Americans have been absolutely pounding the Iranians, and all of a sudden it stops. Back to the negotiation table. Now, that could be timely for the fact of Lindsey Graham's funeral and Benjamin Netanyahu's visit here now. And, we've seen in the past when Netanyahu visits or when Donald Trump visits Israel, usually something very serious is discussed. So we're all waiting. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall to hear, but obviously the main issue was Iran, what to do, and also Saudi Arabia and them joining into the Abraham Peace Accords along with the Qataris and with the Pakistanis as well.
Well, let's go to this topic here. This is really concerning. We touched on it on radio today, but I need to get Annie's thoughts. The Straits Times. Have Saudi Arabia and Ukraine entered the war against Iran? What are your thoughts on this, Annie? Because this could be two wars merging with each other. Thoughts?
Well, I have not read the article, so I don't know where they're going or what they're pointing at.
Well, Ukrainian long-range drones have struck an Iranian vessel in the Caspian Sea, while Saudi Arabia's jets hit military installations belonging to the pro-Iranian Houthi rebels in Yemen. Two recent military operations, obviously miles apart, were launched by countries with little in common except a deep grievance against Iran. The temptation is to see them as evidence that the U.S.-Iran war is spilling outwards, attracting new belligerents.
Right. So as far as Ukraine kind of sort of not getting involved, but Ukraine has been, quote unquote, providing support for the Gulf states since March of this year. So I don't know if I would necessarily take that as getting involved with the war. As far as Saudi Arabia, again, Saudi Arabia could join this quote unquote war and help Israel finish Iran. One or two moves here and there is, again, just diplomacy. It's just a charade. It's a show. Saudi Arabia is not going to go to war with Iran at all. They can't. They won't.
Yeah.
So
Iran's foreign minister.
altogether, I would say no. That a statement on that, at least the title, is not accurate.
Iran's foreign minister claims Ukraine struck Iranian vessel at Israel's behest, vows retaliation.
I just love that. It doesn't matter who does it. Israel did it.
Right.
It's like such a cliche. It doesn't matter who did it. Israel was the reason. They did it on behalf of Israel. They did it for Israel. Israel paid them to do it. It's, again, one thing I have seen, this is not my analysis, I've seen from someone else saying Ukraine is, again, supposedly showing support because they don't want to get Trump to where Trump is going to stop supporting Ukraine during the Ukraine-Russia war. So it's kind of that entanglement. Ukraine, as a country, they wouldn't want to get involved with this, but they are showing support to continue receiving support from U.S. regarding their own war with Russia.
Let's see if I got any other news stories, particularly.
Can I ask a question, Aaron, when you look? Because I wanted to ask this on the last topic you were talking. So, Aaron, could it be possible, I know this is just a speculation, but could it be that your defense said what he said because you're also coming up here soon for elections in Israel? So could that be hey, we do want to finish it, but U.S. is not letting us finish it to try to salvage the election for Bibi?
Great point. Definitely possible. That will have a say in the elections, no question.
How is he in the polls right now, Aaron?
Well, a couple of big things have just happened that have boosted his polls. But before I answer that, our defense minister is a very staunch Netanyahu supporter, very loyal. He's from the old school. So I think, Anni, there could be something in that. Absolutely. A couple of things happened that have really boosted Netanyahu's polls. Most people know that in Israel, the ultra-Orthodox religious Jewish people are not required to serve in the army. The problem with that is we are lacking soldiers. We need them. And it's causing a major rift in our society. And the seculars have been trying to push that they are required to serve. So just as we're getting closer to that law being legislated, something happens. Well, last week or the week before, something happened. That ruling has now been deferred, Brannon, to January. And our elections are in October. So that means that issue is not going to be a dividing or a decisive part in the elections. That whole issue regarding the religious will be after the elections. For Netanyahu to be re-elected, I believe the only way it's going to happen is for him to side again with the religious. If he had let this law be passed, there's no way they would have sided with him and joined a coalition with him. The fact that it's been deferred has strengthened the probability that he will be re-elected, but he will have to go right-wing. He will have to go religious again. Coupled with that, it was also just voted every single Knesset session where they, like your Congress, where they all meet to discuss things, every single Knesset session now must have the Word of God, the Torah, as a part of that reading. Can you imagine if that happened in the United States Senate, that they said we must have the Bible read and discussed at every single session? That's what they've just voted in our government. So you've got two major issues that are very pro-religious that have happened in the last couple of weeks. And these are obvious signs that our nation is going more and more religious. When you take those two things coupled with the demographics, because the religious Jewish community is far out populating the secular Jewish population. So there are more and more religious people, and that means when it comes to elections, there's more and more religious people in our government. So where is this heading? I think it's heading to Netanyahu getting reelected, him having a right-wing religious coalition. That will mean more settlements in Judea and Samaria, and that will possibly mean, let's talk about the temple being rebuilt. So, we're counting down now that the tension is building up. Now, having said what I've just said, I mean, in all elections, there may be some surprises. Who knows? Maybe some left-wing parties see the handwriting on the wall, and they may say, you know what? For the sake of joining in the government, let's agree to go into the Knesset with Netanyahu. Anything can happen. Our prime minister also is at risk. There's been reports of people wanting to assassinate Netanyahu, even his wife, Sarah, as well. So anything can happen.
Yeah, and he was told to take off very quietly to come to the U.S., and he did from an air base and untelevised. They really kept it low key. We are getting reports this afternoon that Iran launched missiles toward one of our U.S. bases in Lebanon, or Jordan, in Jordan. Here's some of the footage. We should have brought this up earlier, but here's some of the footage of that. If these reports are true, and it is being reported by multiple outlets tonight. So, what do you make of this, Aaron?
It could well be that the Iranians are trying to destabilize our eastern borders. Mm-hmm. Jordan are on our eastern borders. Maybe to try and destabilize the government there.
Would it be to their advantage to get something going while Netanyahu is out of the country?
It could be. It could be possible, yeah. I would see it more that they would maybe try to destabilize the Iranian government, maybe get the radicals who are inside of Jordan a footway. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that was coming from that recording right there. I just muted it, but there you go. What do you guys make of this? Shahram?
It's hard to know. Well, okay, look, let's take a step back. Whatever negotiations are going on, it's a ruse. So whether the U.S. stopped these attacks the last 4 days now, today is the fourth day, because of, as Aaron said earlier, Netanyahu's visit, the timing of that, the pattern, right? If you talk about all the time, Brandon, that on this show, you're looking at patterns. The pattern is that Iran being hit hard the last 13 days. As I said to you earlier, I think before we went on air tonight, that the Pakistanis are reporting that they have some sort of information that the United States, again, could be amassing ground forces to look at a possible takeover of that southern port of Iran. Maybe
You're talking about
Karg Island, at least, at the minimum, Karg Island, and possibly into Bandar Abbas. Annie may have some more information about that. But this is according to Pakistan. The report that I just read was according to Pakistan that they have intelligence of a limited ground offensive, at least for that southern area there. Now, by the way, remember what you read earlier from Ukraine, that attack happened in the Caspian Sea. So that was the first time we saw activity, that I've seen activity, up north of Iran in the Caspian Sea, which is, interesting that now could become a theater of some interest, because what if there could be some sort of an attack on the northern part of Iran, or some sort of of an invasion or ground troops on the northern part of Iran if it got to that point. But I just, the part of me thinks, and like Annie said earlier, there's no way the Saudis are going to attack Iran directly. There's no way the Saudis are going to go there. That's why I said to you earlier on radio, I was hesitant about that. And I just think that some of these attacks against these Arab nations or Jordan, it's a bit of theater at the same time. It's a bit of theater at the same time. Yes, they're obviously attacking U.S. assets, but it's a bit of theater in this whole thing, because whatever bottom line comes out of this, it is not worth the paper it's written on. It's not going to last. It's not going to happen. This is temporary. They'll go back at it again. So, and I presume that that's part of Netanyahu's frustration, is if he went to D.C. with information the reports were claiming that he had further intelligence that Iran is rebuilding their ballistic and drone program as we speak because of these pauses, because of the flow of money again after the MOU. Iran is somehow rebuilding part of their nuclear. If that is what he has in intelligence, which I would personally trust their intelligence more than I would the CIA. The Israeli intelligence, then that could be part of his frustration that once again, they're sitting there talking about deals, which is just insane.
Let me go to a clip real quick. Here is.
Before you move on from the missiles, I think there's an interesting thing to also mention. Where these missiles were fired from is just as important as where they were going. They were shot from Khomeini in Iran. Most non-Iranians know that city as IRGC's missile city. Now, my question is, early reports, the United States of America, we claimed that we took out their deep underground missile tunnels of Khomeini. So can somebody tell me how is it that not only they still have their underground inventory, but they're also now openly shooting missiles from it?
Aaron?
Yeah. Good point, Annie. As you were talking, I was also thinking, there is something called a smoke screen. What are the chances? We've known in this war that the Iranians are firing at all the Muslim nations surrounding, and since this last ceasefire was broken, they haven't fired at Israel. What are the chances that someone like Turkey are pulling the strings of Iran? The Iranians are against the Saudis. The Iranians are against the Jordanians. Those two nations have a lot of connection with Islam. Saudi Arabia is where it began. Jordan holds the key to the Temple Mount, the Hashemite kingdom. And I'm just wondering, what are the chances that Turkey are pulling the strings behind the scenes, that they're using this as a smoke screen to weaken the region, weaken the Muslim nations, bring even more confusion and more division, and they're trying to pave the way for themselves.
Wow. And of course,
I would say that the tiny issue I have with that scenario, two issues. One, Erdogan has never been able to pull the strings of IRGC. Two, if you look at it, majority of the attacks are inside the quote-unquote Islamic nations, but they're targeting American bases, American embassies, American something. So it's a harder sell to the people of that nation that, IRGC is attacking you rather than they're attacking. I would agree that with something Shahram said. Yes, it might be they're trying to clear the way to attack Israel next through Jordan by enabling their own members or soldiers in Jordan. But I don't know if the internal fight is necessarily going to take place with these attacks.
Let me switch to, as you get ready to wrap here, Piers Morgan had a interview piece, and he had Professor Robert, I don't know if he has Pape, P-A-P-E, and I've quoted him several times. He's a professor who's very interesting. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's very interesting to listen to because he does write a lot of books about military war, air assaults, etc. He's out of the University of Chicago. He was just with General Wesley Clark, Pierce Morgan, and others. Listen to this. Very interesting. Here we go.
Understand that right now, one of the big advantages Iran has is not just that we're on the Titanic where we're heading over the cliff on the for the world economy, but the world is blaming America for this. I want to be super clear about this. Okay. And what is happening is if we escalate now on any of these options, and I think we are likely to, but if we do that, we're going to go off the economic cliff. This is not going to be stopped. And the world is going to blame America doubling down. That's the biggest problem we have to America's leadership in the world, to our primacy in the world, to the Europeans working with us, to the Democrats giving any sort of grace period whatsoever to do any of these options the generals are talking about here. And this is the big framing that President Trump needs to understand, which is everything he's doing is making that political
making that see if we can find more clips of that. Any of those other guys responding, if you would, guys. But let me say, I'm not disagreeing with the professor, but I'll tell you what's going to happen. And I know every one of you agrees with this. It's not going to be America they blame. It's going to be Israel they blame.
There you go.
Okay.
I was just about to say no one has blamed America. They have, from day one, it's Israel to be blamed.
Exactly. Exactly.
So when the economy goes into a tailspin, okay, when they do, if indeed they do, block the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and they create this crisis from the Strait of Hormuz to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, something that historically is it's unprecedented, it would be. What it would do, and you're talking about fuel, fertilizer, everything that is, required to survive in a society of 2026, which again impacts everybody's kitchen table checkbook with food and everything else. Who are they going to blame? They're going to blame President Trump, and he's going to lose soundly in the midterms if this thing escalates and we continue to see this problem. And now some guys are talking that they are 100% confident there will be an interest rate hike, okay? So now, of course, what you're talking about is the desire to try to get inflation under control. I do not believe this consumer price index numbers. I never have. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. It is not a consistent basket of goods. They're taking out too many key things. Now, of course, apparently Warsh wants to bring in a new system that would basically be unaudible so they could tell us, but we couldn't go verify anything. They have no choice but to print their way out of this thing. If they raise interest rates, which again, some economists say they're absolutely going to do it. They have no choice to try to cool the inflation. It's way higher than they're telling us. And again, mortgage interest rates, that's going to be another political issue. But at the end of the day, yes, they will blame President Trump, but more than that, they will blame Israel. And if you talk about, again, I am always trying to figure out, why does the whole world turn against Israel? The Bible says the whole world. And you have to wonder, what has happened to the whole world that they want to do that? An economic collapse, a global economic collapse. And I think they led President Trump, we're now seeing that with the Fauci diaries. I think they led President Trump right down a path in 2020. And I think the globalists led him, and his handlers led him, and probably the intel industry led him right down another path in this second term. First administration, it was COVID. Second administration, it's World War. They led him right down the path. I see you shaking your head. Do you agree with that, Shahram?
I do. I actually do agree with that I think you're absolutely correct. Ironically, as we said earlier, he was started off his second term as the peace president. And again, personally, I think that he could have couched this, almost 50% of Iranians in the world see what happened in Iran as a humanitarian aid, not as a war. And more than 60% of Iranians wanted Israel to attack. So they could have couched this as, this is humanitarian. This is not just about nuclear. No, they decided to go after the concept of, no, we're getting rid of their nuclear, we're getting their whatever. They've dug their own hole. Because let's face it, how many times have Annie and I said this from the beginning? We didn't want the U.S. to get involved. I didn't even want the United States to get involved. If he had just kept his mouth shut and said, help is not on the way, let Israel do the job. Then you wouldn't have anything to blame America for. And then they could have just made Israel easily the scapegoat. But no, they've done it this way. They've dug their own hole. Now they're, wherever they're stopping Israel, whatever the reason is, they're once again interfering, getting in the way. And I honestly, Brandon, I think part of what's going on here is that, again, we've said it many times, the Arab nations surrounding Iran cannot tolerate Iran becoming free. So that's why however this started, it's not the Israeli influence on the Trump administration. It's the Arab Emirate, Qatari, Oman, Bahraini, Kuwaiti, Saudi influence on the White House, maybe even the Turkish influence to some extent on Erdogan, that is dictating how poorly they are handling this situation.
Why do they not? Why do those Gulf nations? Right. Why do those Gulf nations not want Iran free?
Well, number one, because a free Iran is an Islamic free Iran. That's the simplest reason, because the Iranians have rejected Islam, and that could fundamentally shift the entire Middle East. Earlier on
in other words, that contagion spreads, and you start having basically a freedom movement in the Islamic nations.
Absolutely, because what happened in 1979? You had a fundamentalist movement in the Islamic nations. When Iran went fundamentalist, the Islamic nations surrounding them went fundamentalist. At that time, Turkey was fairly secularly governed. Egypt was fairly secularly governed. Jordan was fairly, Afghanistan, Pakistan. What do we see in 50 years? We've seen not only a fundamentalist movement, but all of a sudden, these desert nations that were sucking sand are now producing all this oil, and now they're the go-to voices in the world. There was no Qatar. There was no, the Saudis, yes, to some extent, but it was OPEC, it was Saudi money. So the Iranian story dictated the world story. It could do it again, and they cannot tolerate that. They cannot have a free Iran. But then all of a sudden, by the way, also comes out and says, we're going to immediately become the friend of Israel and support Israel's right to exist. So I think that's what's pulling the strings. It's not Netanyahu that's controlling U.S. foreign policy. It's the Qatari, Saudi, Emirati, Kuwaiti, Turkish influence that is controlling. That's why I agree with you what you're saying.
And Shahram, to spin off from what you were saying, I mean, yeah, it seems natural Israel gets the blame for everything, but what you've just said, all these Muslim nations, the Qataris and all that, bring the Abraham Peace Accords into the equation.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be friends with Israel. There's going to be trade. I mean, if the Saudi Arabian futuristic city actually happens, that's going to create mass amount of money and trade and so-called peace. So Israel, necessarily, they won't be looked upon as the bad guy. They may actually come out to be almost like a good thing in this, which leads to the question: well, what is going to cause the world to turn against Israel? Maybe the Antichrist will be Jewish. I don't know, but yeah, I agree with Shahram. I think it's these Muslim nations, because you set me up to meet with Dr. Patrick Wood when I was in Phoenix, and he and his wife took me out and we talked, and he kind of gave me a good education on, how do you say it?
Technocracy.
Technocracy. And he was talking about how, the Middle East is going to be the center. It's going to the trade routes, the under the sea, under the ground pipes, from India to the Mediterranean, big plans. And Trump is right in the middle of it. And of course, Israel will be part of that as well.
Can I come in just one last angle?
Yeah.
Let me come in as the Middle Eastern. Everything you all said, 100% correct. But there's one more side to this story, or another side of the coin, that the professor did not touch on. Though all the Islamic nation would like the situation to stay as it is, Also, for 47 years, to be specific, 49 years, America's policy created this. And we're not about to retreat and go back to 49 years ago when a free Iran was 10 in the world economy. We're not going to go back to where there is no need for Abraham Accords. We're going to need that. And also, we would never, America cannot afford, for the nation itself, America cannot afford to not have third world countries.
Let me go to another clip here because I'm very concerned about military draft. You know, you got young boys in your family, your sons, I do, Shahram, many of the audience do. And I'm not interested in my sons dying in foreign wars. I don't care who they're for. You know, we're letting the Muslims take over here in America. Why on earth would I go fight the Muslims over there? We're not even fighting them here. We're rolling out the red carpet for them here. So why would I go over there and fight Iran when we won't even fight these towel-wearing pieces of trash garbage here, right? You know, people that wipe their rear end with their hand, for Pete's sake. Why would, you know, we don't even fight these dogs here. Most uncivilized brood of people. You know, it almost makes you believe in evolution, but I don't, that they're the missing link, for Pete's sake. I mean, so uncivilized. You know, it's just, they're just a demonic, by and large, a demonic breed. That's my theological opinion. They've been given over. They worship Satan, for Pete's sake. They just call him Allah. I mean, they're child rapists. They have sex with 9-year-olds because their prophet did. They marry 6-year-olds. I mean, how much more demonic do you need? We won't even fight this scourge here, but you want me to offer up my sons to fight them overseas? Screw you guys. You know, when I see your kids going over there, you know, then maybe some Americans would consider it, but I don't care if you send your whole clan. I'm not going. We're not sending our kids over there. And I've been saying this regardless who's president since 2018, when I clearly saw, thanks to Captain Udell Myers, that the Obama administration with McCain was planning on drafting America's daughters and started a commission on it. And now we see the technology this week is being reported that Selective Service is looking to try to kick up their computer technology for this mandatory, you know, everyone gets enlisted. Boom, it's going to be instant. Well, how are they going to do that? You used to have to go to the post office and fill out a little card. Now it's automatic, right? But why are they all of a sudden getting everything ready for this? Why have they been conditioning us with articles in the press for this? I don't know why. Well, I think they'd love to send off a lot of MAGA kids to die. And sadly, because there is a percentage of MAGA that do not think for themselves, they would send their kids off to die. All they need to do is have a good, stiff terrorist attack in the country, and they'll sign up in droves thinking it's their patriotic duty to go have their limbs blown off. So they can come back here in the U.S. and get nothing. So that you got to watch one commercial after another, how some 501c3 has to raise money to help these people out, and God bless them for doing it. But your own stinking government won't help these kids who come home with their limbs blown off. But they sure give a lot of money to Islamic countries all over the world. I mean, why would any thinking person think that this is legit? Why would you sign up for a military? They'll let your body parts be blown off, and then you have to rely on charity to have a house where you can get into with a wheelchair ramp. They give you medical treatment that is, my dogs get better treatment. Come on. But watch the stupid Americans that will find it their patriotic duty to go fight the ragheads over there when we won't even fight them here. But here we have the professor. Again, I don't know whether he's accurate, but let's listen to what he's saying about troops on the ground. Here we go.
Iran is stronger today than it was before the war started. And this is literally the nightmare scenario that we've been worrying about. And the reason you're having me here is because in the next few months, the world economic crisis is going to grow.
And it does appear that you've been largely correct about what you said would happen.
It's because I've been modeling the bombing of Iran for 20 years, and I've advised every White House from 2001 to 2024 on different issues related to conflict conflict. And right now, we're coming into the stage 3 prediction. We're like on the Titanic, and we're about to hit the iceberg. And when the iceberg hits, there's not enough lifeboats for everybody. So we are knocking on the door of the world literally running out of oil. And then on top of that, Stephen, we have another set of problems. For example, Iran is attacking our base in Jordan, and we're in our 9th day of bombing in a row. And the scale of eliminating the drone and missile threat is much bigger than people realize, because they hide those drones everywhere.
So how real is the risk that the US will do some kind of limited ground operation with boots on the ground in Iran?
It's bordering on 70% now, probably by the end of this week. But I'm concerned about terrorist attack because controlling pieces of homeland territory is the biggest risk factor for suicide terrorism. So the choice is, do we have a global economic crisis, possibly recession, possibly worse, or do we let Iran control the Strait of Hormuz?
This is not a good place to be. So what is the most probable next thing that you think happens?
I think that question, Stephen, is the most important question in the world. And if the answer is
And the answer is, well, there you go. So he's thinking 70% likely chance of boots on the ground. I watched that full, what's it called? The Diary of a Said sending ground troops will be the trend. You get suicide bombers into, and then you watch again the 7. They will run to join. Again, I'm warning people now, because this country hasn't won a war. When? World War II? Last time we won one? We didn't win the Korean War. We didn't win Vietnam. Right? So why would you send your kids off to die? Again, as I say, they won't even fight them here. They're letting them go into Congress. They're letting them get the highest levels into the government. I mean, if they're so wonderful, why are you going over there to fight them? That makes no sense. Our domestic policy.
Because they are the radicals, Brennan. Because they are the radicals.
Oh, yeah, because they're the radicals. Our domestic policy does not match our foreign policy. I've been saying that for a couple years now. It doesn't match. Our foreign policy and our domestic policy do not match. So let me ask each of you. Shahram, or Annie, you first. Do you believe that we'll see boots on the ground in Iran?
I don't. No. From day one, I said we won't. But can I add something that maybe it is in that interview, but in the clip you played, the professor didn't touch on? We do not need boots on the ground. There's nothing new coming from me. But remember, if we wanted to finish IRGC and the Islamic regime of Iran, we easily, comfortably have more than 35 million boots on the ground inside Iran, fluent in the language, knowing every street and the back street. We could just use them.
Mm-hmm. But they're not armed. So how are you going to get them armed?
Well, that's not the hardest thing to do. Again, but that's the point. If this objective was to end IRGC and the regime, we could have armed them. We could. But it's time for people to realize that is not the objective from day one. I said, don't take that post literal. President Trump is not a humanitarian. President Trump is not a human rights activist. President Trump is a successful politician. Successful politicians don't go rescue people. They rescue their own legacy, their own pocket, their own position. So the objective is not to end them. Therefore, we're not going to end them.
Do you think we're going to see boots on the ground, Aaron?
I really don't know the answer, Brennan. Your question takes me back to the beginning of the war when I was in Beverly Hills in where is it, California, and I met at a meeting an ex-Israeli man, a man who worked at the nuclear reactor in Dimona, the southern city of Israel, and I was talking about we're gonna turn this around. This was only about 6 months after the war began. And I said, we're going to turn around and we're going to get victory. And he asked me the question, he said, how do you define victory? And it was a really good question. So even if we do have boots on the ground, I don't know if it's going to be able to accomplish victory or not. So I don't know if we're going to see boots on the ground, but I am convinced we are going to see something on the ground. And what I'm aiming at is after the Pages operation and after we took out all of these Iranian regime leaders at the beginning of the 12-day Iranian war, Benjamin Netanyahu said, we've got a lot of these operations still up our sleeve. I'm convinced we're going to see something on the ground. I don't know if it's boots or not.
What do you think, Shahram?
I know, but I'm sorry, Aaron, I want to differentiate here because from a point of view of Americans, it is very important to differentiate between Israel and US.
Agree.
Because Israel has the solid objective. US doesn't.
Yes.
Though we walk around and talk as we, it has been a long time, since the 12 days, basically. We hijacked Israel's war. We hijacked Israel's objective. We hijacked Israel's capabilities. So I'm with you. One of the ways I said that won't be that hard is because I am aware of the minimum number of Iranian Mossad-trained agents inside Tehran itself. So arming the people of Iran is not that hard. But that requires for U.S. to come to its senses, a step aside, and let Israel take control of this operation.
Yeah.
Shahram?
Yeah, I agree with both of them. Again, we've been saying from the very beginning, I said earlier, the U.S. didn't need to get involved. The U.S. could have had some limited, capabilities, but let Israel lead the way. But no, they want to take credit. He wanted to take credit, Trump did. Is it his ego? Is it his legacy? All of the above. The bottom line is they've made a mess of it. They've made a mess of it. Tens of thousands of Iranians died. Even if you take their number of 52,000, we continue to see executions. Look, I said earlier on radio, Brandon, that Reza Pahlavi said yesterday that members of the IRGC and the police are secretly, through back channels, contacting him. And they're saying we're ready to defect. I've said from the very beginning, the best boots on the ground, to Annie's point, are the Iranian people and the percentage within the current military, some lower level IRGC that could defect. I've said many times that's exactly how they pulled off the coup in 1979. Half of the Air Force, half of the Army that my dad was serving in defected towards Khomeini. The rest succumbed after they did not have support from the U.S. In this case, we don't even need half. Reza Pahlavi has said that, they think 20 or 30% of those forces. Do I think that there may be some aspect of U.S. ground troops, again, near Karg Island? Possibly, but not because to liberate the Iranian people, simply because they want control of the strait, simply because they want to be able to keep the technocratic lines going to feed their machine. And as Annie said, rightfully so, and we've talked about before, the U.S. doesn't have the objective that Israel does. And Annie made a great point earlier. The U.S. has having to live with almost 50 years of their failed foreign policy. To support the Iranian people now, to support someone like Pahlavi, means you got to go back and say, we royally blew it. Remember Ronald Reagan, back when he said to the Jimmy Carter administration that your betrayal of the Shah of Iran was one of the worst foreign policy things the United States ever done. Mm-hmm. So they got to go back 50 years and say, we blew it, we were wrong, they'll never do it. They'll never do that. So even if you had U.S. boots on the ground, it's going to be a quagmire because you don't have the objective that you need to have, which is to let the Iranian people overthrow this regime and let them dictate their own future, arm them, get I'm telling you, these defections would happen tomorrow if those people that are thinking about defecting and wanting to stick their necks out would know that the U.S. is not going to sabotage it. That's what's happening. The United States government keeps sabotaging. They're not just telling stop. They're sabotaging the efforts to liberate Iran by giving the lifeline to this regime. It's a sabotage.
U.S. Sitcom Command confirmed At 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces launched multiple ballistic missiles from Iran in an attempted surprise attack on U.S. forces based in the Middle East. All Iranian missiles were successfully intercepted. U.S. forces remain vigilant and at a high state of readiness. Let me go to one last clip, unless I see some breaking news here. Back to the professor from the University of Chicago, because he makes a very interesting case as to the fact that Iran has been preparing for this for decades. And the area of the mountainous area that we've all talked about there by the Strait, he says that's about the size of California that he pulls out of his map and shows. And I think he takes about half the country when he shows that area, showing what they've got. Very interesting. Watch.
The problem of opening Hormuz between now and the midterms. And I'd like your listeners to just hear one word: scale. Scale. Now, it's very important to understand that a Shahed 136 drone, given its range, it has a drone launch zone of roughly 500 miles of coastline by 500 miles deep, not just a few kilometers deep. That is a drone launch zone bigger than California. And that problem of scale is not just 2 by 2, a two-dimensional problem. There are massive mountains in that 500 by 500 mile, the Zagros Mountains. Think about mountains as a skyscraper, where the drone, which is just a little bit bigger, heavier than a king-size mattress, could be on any crevice, anywhere. It could be deeply buried in the basement. It could be on floor 12. And the problem is, do you know how many Manhattans, Pierce, you can put in that zone launch area that I'm describing? 11,000 Manhattans. That's the search problem we have, the scale problem. And
wow, the equivalent of 11,000 Manhattans, downtown Manhattan. And, he goes on to make some other interesting points. But I think I saw today, guys, if I can find it real quick, maybe, Logan, you can help me find it. Maybe it's at worldviewreport.com. I just saw that Iran is
known for its ability to control inflammation.
I just saw that Iran has unveiled maybe you can help me find it, Logan. I've come across so many news stories, I can't keep up with them all. But I thought I just saw that Iran just unveiled another super fast drone that's hit the news. Huh?
Khaybar missile.
Tell me about it.
Oh, I think the reveal was yesterday or something. They actually did a whole reveal, and the slogan on it actually was, America doesn't have it.
And that's a drone, right?
That is in English, I don't know the difference between missile and drone. It's the same as Shahed. So if Shahed is a drone, then Khaybar is a drone. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, that part.
Does anyone have a picture or anything on a news story? I'm looking it up real quick. Yep, here we go. Stealthier, faster, deadlier. Iran unveils new suicide drone. There you go. Look at that. Now, again, can we just talk?
Oh, they're talking about Hadid. Okay, that's a different one. I'm sorry, I was talking about a different one. They also did that yesterday.
Yep. So can we? So can we talk also about the fact that we have 300 of these drones by Iran, at least 300 in Cuba, right? So we don't know what they have here. They could have the Club K cargo systems stationed. My friend that's retired from the Office of National Reconnaissance, who had the corner office in a skiff with 600 people under him, told me point blank, we don't know what's here. They could have those maybe you can bring up some of the footage of that from my documentary from 2018, Logan. But they could have Club K cargo systems with the lid able to pop up with 2 to 4 silos for missiles to go all over this country. I don't know what they got. The intelligence community doesn't know what they have, because one of the guys that was at that office that tracks it told me point blank, we don't know what's here. This is what freaks us out and keeps us up at night. But you could have Iran with China overseeing a lot of these ports coming into the U.S. with the guy that was involved with Saddam Hussein's nuclear program and his family tied to some of these ports here in the U.S. That's in my documentary from 2028. If you're a Vault member, you can go watch it. It's called Sabotage. There's siege, but this was sabotage 2018. It's in the vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. So can you imagine if they decide to start launching some of this stuff and getting ready for that kind of kinetic situation? I guess we'll at that point understand what Israel faces every day. Shahram?
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. What they face on a daily basis and having to deal with that. When Aaron was with us here in the Knoxville area this past weekend, we were talking about that of daily life for Israel that the United States doesn't understand, that they don't fully comprehend what it's like living in that environment. So, Brandon, this is what we've been concerned about. Again, we have said to people, do not underestimate the tactical apparatus of the Islamic republics. Their intelligence, number one. Obviously, they have friends. Obviously, as Annie and I talked about earlier, they don't have the satellite technology, but they have friends who do, i.e. the Chinese. But we have been very cautious about the fact that they could retaliate. And I think you made a good point earlier. If we do see, let's say, the taking of Karg Island, then more than likely, it's a higher probability. I'd say 60, 70% that we're going to see some sort of either drone attacks or suicide attacks on American soil. I think that's likely. But the way that this administration continues to sell what they're doing and the mishaps that they've had or the mistakes that they've made, or on purpose or not, is part of what's not preparing the Iranian people. You remember about 2-3 months ago, you said on one of your shows, the president should be going before the cameras, saying, Americans prepare, Americans get ready. This is a fierce enemy. They've been preparing for us to attack them. Right? I mean, listen, we did not see any direct-to-direct attack between Israel and Iran till what? 2 years ago. Right? They've been 47 years, and Iran was, I was hiding behind proxies. It was only 2 years ago that we saw Iran directly attack Israel, and it was only last year that we saw Israel directly attack Iran. So they've been preparing for this for 47 years. And though I don't agree with, some of the analysis of this dude that you were playing, but I think that he's right in the fact that this is a very problematic area in the South. It is very mountainous. If anyone's been to that area of Iran in Bandar Abbas in that southern corridor, and this is why they should have strategically gone after these areas first, in my opinion, if they could have. And they should have understood that the Strait of Hormuz and now the Red Sea by the Houthis is their tactical approach. Why did they not see this coming? Why would they have not known that that's one of the choke points that they're going to do? That's poor strategic planning by the United States of America. And again, we've said it, I don't want to beat a dead horse. They don't have a clear objective. That's part of the problem.
Yep. All right, Annie, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. That's her website. Annie, thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Can I make one correction? I said drone. Actually, Khaybar that I was talking about from yesterday is a medium-range ballistic missile.
Okay.
And it's supposedly very unique because it has a zigzag warhead. So that's what they revealed yesterday. But thank you so much, Brannon. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Shahram, John.
Thanks,
and we just keep doing what we're doing.
Yep, absolutely. And Shahram, give us your website, and we carry your broadcast here along with Annie's. Talk to us about all that, please.
Yes, sir. Saturdays, Sundays, you guys carry programs. TILministry.com is our website, TILministry.com. And of course, they can find us also on Rumble.
And then Aaron Lavarco, he is our reporter on the ground. His website, lighttothenationsministry.com, lighttothenationsministry.com. I dare say you probably have a hard time finding a panel like this, right? A Jew, a Gentile, and two Persians.
It's amazing.
That sounds like a joke somewhere.
That's
I was waiting for the rest of it. I'm like, Brandon, are you going to finish the joke?
A Gentile, a Jew, and two Persians walk into a pool hall.
Into a bar.
Yeah, into a bar. Anyway.
Well, we could turn it into a very inspiring message.
Yes.
You say the first part, Brandon, say the first part again.
A Gentile, a Jew, and 2 Persians.
All came to Christ.
Yes, absolutely. All 4. That's right. Absolutely. Wow. All right. Thank you, guys. And as breaking news happens, we'll break in. What a great panel. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
Take a look at the water you just poured. It looks clean. It tastes fine. But what's really in it? Lead, fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, pesticides, PFAS forever chemicals, pharmaceutical residues, and bacteria. Every single day, these toxins flow straight from your tap into your glass, into your family. It's time for Sentry H2O from Worldview Water. Sentry H2O is the ultimate water treatment technology, designed to remove harmful toxins, balance your water's pH, and enrich it with essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, the way nature intended. From commercial scale systems to whole house filtration to crisp, delicious drinking water right at your kitchen sink and shower, Sentry H2O delivers cleaner, healthier water everywhere you need it. And here's the best part. It installs in just 15 minutes. No plumber, no tools, no plumbing knowledge required. Perfect for homes, apartments, rentals, RVs, refrigerators, and more. Because everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water, including you, including your family. Visit worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net. And discover what truly clean water can do for your health.
Joining me now is Dr. Lana. Hey, Dr. Lana, look at this here. This is from the JPCTR Journal of Pharmacotherapy and Clinical Translational Research. Woo! Anyway, PhD research scholar, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, India. Oh my, phytoplankton. Phytoplankton comes up. And it may show that cancer remains a leading cause of mortality worldwide with an increasing incidence despite advancements in conventional treatment methods such as chemotherapy, et cetera, et cetera. And it looks like this is going on to talk about phytoplankton and what it can do in cancer, to fight cancer. And cancer therapy is underpinned by a growing body of preclinical and clinical evidence. For example, it goes on to talk about this. What it can do. What do you make of studies like this? You've seen these, right?
Yes. And I will share, your audience knows we are going back to the facts. We're going back to studies. We're not saying that Gadatana cures cancer. We are saying absolutely. Tom Harper, we know, Dave Hunter watched him recover from mesothelioma, a very deadly lung cancer. He had about 9 weeks to live, and he just started eating, like half a teaspoon a day of phytoplankton. And there's 23,000 studies proving that phytoplankton improves health outcomes. So one of the things it does, remember I was telling you, it becomes a beautiful prebiotic, feeds a good gut bacteria, makes butyrate. What does that do? Seal up your gut lining so none of the toxins get in your bloodstream, and it reduces inflammation in your body. And my friends, when you reduce systemic inflammation from your head to your toes, your killer cells, your T cells can fight and do their job. Your cells are functioning better. It even helps. Tom Harper had diabetes. That's a fact. And his diabetes was diminishing, and because his blood sugar was stabilizing, because he was consuming the phytoplankton every single day. And why does that happen? And you're talking about cancer. We're not saying this cures anything. We're saying that this fuels your cells. It's an incredible God-made prebiotic that feeds your good gut flora. And when that happens, the end of that highway is systemic inflammation is reduced, and your cells can function better, including those fighter T cells. And when you stabilize your blood sugar, you help fight chronic degenerative diseases. And that is, cancer is a disease. It is a profound failure of your immune system, like diabetes. It's a failure of, cells in your pancreas. And if you have type 1, you don't have, you're not producing insulin. Your beta cells in your pancreas are not producing insulin. You've got to control your blood sugar if you have disease, or even you have diseases like cancer. And the Gatatana, my friends, you could take 10 scoops a day if you are really needing to make health your number one priority. Bottom line, we are providing in nature this beautiful prebiotic that at the end of the highway reduces systemic inflammation. That reduces oxidative stress, and that's helping all your cells function, including your killer T cells.
And boosting your own immune system. And this study here, I'm going to go back to it. Thank you. The promising therapeutic potential of phytoplankton in cancer therapy necessitates continued research and development. And that's from this journal here. And right now, by the way, till August 11th, we have 30% off for your first jar to order at melissahousegpa.com. Correct, Doc?
Absolutely. We wanted to do this. David Hunter's never done this for anyone. It's only for your audience. You can start your first jar 30% off. And the majority of people never, ever stop taking this. Their entire family ends up taking this from ages 4 to ages 104. Absolutely.
I also want to talk real quick. That's at melissahousegpa.com. I want to talk real quick also about the Melissa House protein, because I have been taking it now. Melissa's been taking it for 4 months. I'm going on, I don't know, what has it been now? 10 days, 2 weeks? I have to tell you, I have my coffee in the morning. I want to bring it up here. I have my coffee in the morning, and then Melissa brings me 5 or 6 of those Super Amino 23 tablets, and I take those, and then I don't eat anything until maybe a little bit of something around 3 o'clock, a handful of peanuts and some raisins, maybe a teaspoon of two of tuna, something just to give a little energy. But other than that, I'm not eating. And then I have a normal dinner, and I can take a few more of those before dinner, have a very normal dinner, and I stop before I'm full. I stop before I'm full because I need to give my body a chance or the stomach to tell me you're full, versus eating so much. And then, I ate too much. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to cut back on my calorie intake. And so then I take a few more at night before dinner. And I'm telling you, this is amazing. As far as I'm not hungry. I've got more energy. I'm adding it to my Bella Grace, my Numi, my Gatatana. I'm taking my magnesium at night to sleep better. And then I'm doing this. So these are all the things I'm doing right now. And I'm sold on this because of the fact that my muscle tone in that short period of time has picked up. I was standing at the sink shaving the other day, and Melissa said, your muscle tone has gotten better. Am I lying? Does this happen?
Absolutely true, because my friends, this is again pure. This is pre-digested plant protein. Okay, non-soy, pre-digested, pure as you can get. Nobody else is making this. This was listed in the physicians, I want to say the PDR, the physician's desk reference since 2006. It is getting pure amino acids, pure protein, okay, in your muscles in 23 minutes without eating a steak or making a shake so you get bloated, and without eating all that meat that's really, if you eat too much, you're damaging your kidneys and blood vessels. You aren't damaging anything with these. And if the tablets are too large, there's nothing else in them but those pure amino acids that get right in your muscles in 23 minutes. And there's nothing else in there. You can crush them up if you want, put them in a shake.
If they're too large,
if you don't want.
Just break them in half. They're too large.
Right. Break them in half. You can crush them up. I take 5 in the morning. I take 5 in the late afternoon, just like you do. We are not, obviously your audience knows, we are not making this up. This is a secret weapon to me. It has been for years. I've used it in very serious cases with patients who need to build back lean muscle mass because they're very ill. And I've used it for busy executives, busy moms, busy grandparents, busy dads who just need that energy. They want to stay fit. They want to lose a few pounds and have a flat belly. It's not a weight loss product, but when you get protein in your muscles quickly, your metabolism kicks up, your energy kicks up, and it tightens your muscles, your belly flattens, and it's pure, absolutely pure amino acids, and it doesn't break down like meat. Your body uses 99% of this amino acid, the building blocks of protein, where when you're eating meat, your body can only use about, let's use round numbers, about 50%. People don't realize that. Your body can only use about 50% of the animal flesh. The other gets metabolized as waste, and it's damaging your cardiovascular system and your kidneys. Your whole family, again, 4 years old and up. Everybody can take these. That's if you're over 4 years old, and they just say 4 years old because anything under 4, they, in general, they feel you should talk to your pediatrician. But amazing. It's a secret weapon. Tighten those muscles, reduce that appetite, and get tighter skin, younger skin, and really a lot of energy. And that helps you think more clearly as well.
Yep.
Very safe.
True. That's true. I'm taking them. And I ask for them in the morning. I'm like, after my coffee, I'm like, oh yeah, I need my protein. Because I know, because I start getting hungry and I think, I take my protein. That's going to suppress that appetite, speed up my metabolism, burn calories, and I'm not eating. Basically I'm fasting. From after 7 o'clock, I don't eat anything from 7 until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The next day, that fasting to burn off. And then of course I'm not uncomfortable because I've been taking the protein.
Exactly. People ask me, they're like, oh my gosh, what's Brandon doing? I go, he's going to have to tell you himself what he's doing. I can't tell you what he's doing, but we're not making any claims. But your body runs on amino acids, and just go read about them at melissaprotein.com. I mean, this is in the physician's desk reference. That means medical doctors have read about this and used this for many, many years.
And what do you make of my not eating after 7 Central and not eating till the next day, and just a little something at about 3 o'clock, and then I wait for my normal dinner? What do you make of that?
You're a warrior, number one. I love the after 7, like stop at 7, because our body's digestion, my friends, takes a lot of energy and a lot of blood. So I love stopping all calories at 7 o'clock. You can have iced tea or hot tea or a cup of coffee with no calories in it.
I do hot tea. Yep.
Awesome. Just to stop the calories after 7. You can wait till 3 o'clock, even if you can't wait till noon, everyone. We were raised by who to think, and I'm not talking about God, I'm talking about, the big brothers, right? We were raised, and our parents were raised to think, oh my gosh, we have to eat breakfast, we have to eat lunch, we have to eat dinner, we have to have a snack. If it's 12 noon and we don't have lunch, heavens to Betsy, we're going to drop over if we're not eating 3 square meals a day and snacks. Nothing can be further from the truth. God made us to be nomadic. We can literally go days without food. I'm not telling you to do that. But unless someone is in a severe health condition, and of course, talk to your own doctor, but we are made to go hours and even days without food. Don't do that without the help of your doctor. But oh my gosh, if you can not have calories in your body for 12 to 14 to 15 hours a day, all of your organs are getting a vacation, and your taste buds start to downregulate. So you stop craving junk food and you start craving greens and vegetables and healthy food. It downregulates your taste buds. Fasting is in every religion, including Christianity.
Yep.
So you don't have to, but the more hours you keep your body from ingesting any calorie, I'm talking about gum, a breath mint, a bite of a banana, any calorie, the better. So start with 12 hours and maybe go to 13 and maybe go to 14 every day. What's comfortable for you?
And I don't know if the audience can see it or not, but I can when I watch the replay. My face is getting thinner, right? I watch the news and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm looking like a stinking heifer over there with a big old neck. And so I'm like, I've got to get back to being disciplined again. And I'm telling you, I don't know where it shows up for most people, but for me, it shows up in the face. I start dropping the weight in the face. And with the Bella Grace and all that takes away the inflammation, that helped. no doubt about it. But adding this new step is really helping because I'm not like starving all the time, stomach's rumbling. I don't have that because I am getting protein. So I'm not hungry. But man, Melissa has been on it for 4 months. You used the word long, lean muscles, and that's happening for her, right? She was, again, I think I told the story a few weeks ago. She was standing at the sink washing some pots and pans, and I was leaning against the counter, drinking a cup of coffee, talking to her. And from across the kitchen, I just said, man, you're getting so thin. But her muscles and her legs are getting long and thin, that lean look. Now, she wasn't overweight. So, she's got her dad's metabolism. Her dad's 89. He's just as trim as can be. She has good genes. Some people, we don't have those genes. My family on my side, the house side, they have to be careful. The house men have to be careful. I remember my great aunt, she lived to be almost 100, right? About close to 100. She said something about the house men. You have to be careful. These house men, they have to be careful. And she's right. So some of us genetically, we just have to be more careful and really fight it. My wife doesn't. She genetically is thin automatically, but she wanted to just trim it up a little bit in her mind. And I was like, I don't think you need to. But now seeing what she's done, those muscles have become longer and leaner in her legs. And she's got more energy. She's feeling good. She wants that strength in her legs because she really is committed to never having Alzheimer's or dementia. And she thinks that the leg muscles have a lot to do with pumping that blood to the brain and preventing that long term.
Absolutely. And I noticed too, I have a blazer jacket on today, but like that women under your arms, that starts to get tighter and everything. And you want to take care of yourself. You're absolutely right. None of us want to be a burden to our families. None of us want to spend our retirement, in assisted living or lose our minds or lose our bodies. And we don't have to. We were meant to age well. And we were blessed by God to know about a few of these gems, the glutathione switch and your elixir, and the Gatatana is God's food, and you've got the super amino 23 at melissaprotein.com, pure pre-digested plant protein. Those amino acids are getting in your muscles in 23 minutes, and
there you go.
burning fat, kicking up your metabolism and doing good things, tightening your skin and helping your overall health, your energy, and your metabolism.
And you'll find both products, folks, melissaprotein.com and Melissa House GPA. All of them are at our main site, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Dr. Lana, inspiredbywellness.com, inspiredbywellness.com. Thank you, Dr. Lana.
You're welcome. God bless everyone. We're here to help.
And don't forget, folks, till August 11th, 30% off your first order, your first jar of Gatatana. Find it there at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. You appreciate what we're doing here? Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We need your support, folks. Worldviewfoundation.com. Please do not forget us in your legacy giving. You'll find all the information on how to give the legacy of a biblical worldview. I've been doing this 36 years, so I'm not changing course now, folks. And then, do you want to know if we're tax deductible? All the information is right there, the IRS rules and codes. So thank you for going now, worldviewfoundation.com. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us. Aaron Levarco, our reporter from Israel, is in the studio. And for those watching by television, Dolly, for some reason, just can't stay away from him. She keeps jumping up in his lap to give him kisses. She's so happy to see you. The last time you were here, she was about a year old. She was a little shy, but now she just absolutely loves you. So anyway, you're getting a very big welcome, at least from our studio dog, Dolly.
Yeah, well,
Last time we weren't friends. This time, I think we're friends for life.
I think you're very much friends. She definitely knew who you were, but she also recognizes your voice.
Yeah.
She hears your voice enough. She recognizes your voice.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here. Aaron Lavarco on the ground here in the Mid-South. And of course, right now we have the funeral service going on for Lindsey Graham. And at that funeral, you not only have Zelensky, but also Netanyahu, as well, of course, President Trump and many members of the U.S. Senate. High security event happening right now in the nation's capital. We're going to talk about much of what is happening in the Middle East. We have a lot of news to report. We want to talk a little bit about Erdogan and his Ottoman dream, and the headline at Israel 365 News: why a Turkish bid to reclaim the empire should worry U.S. Christians more than Jews. We're also going to talk about the Houthis. They're continuing to crack down on Christians. And then, of course, we have none other than the Islamist Marxist himself. Mondani publishes names and addresses of New York City property owners who could be hit with new tax. This is ridiculous what's happening. But also we've gotten news now that shrapnel has broken bones and caused head trauma to U.S. troops who were wounded in Iran war. Also, Defense Minister in Israel says the U.S. is blocking us from fighting Iran. Look at that headline. The U.S. is blocking us from fighting Iran. We also have other news we'll get to today, including, I mentioned it on television last night, Selective Service System seeks software to aid the military draft. Are you hanging on to your young people, folks? Because I've been warning you about this since 2018. I'm not saying one's coming, but I'll tell you something. We do seem like we are on the verge of an all-out war. I think we've been in World War III for some time. Cyber war, information war, border war, drug war, all kinds, economic war from our enemies, but it could go absolutely kinetic, as there's a lot of evidence to that fact growing quickly. And yet the U.S. military does not have, according to numerous reports, the munitions that we need. In fact, the U.S. had to let some Iranian projectiles through the defenses. This is according to the BBC. Many reports that America's munitions are way down. And of course, one has to wonder if this is playing into the decisions by President Trump not to follow through with his decision to strike a bridge or a power plant with every strike of a ship. We'll get to all that and what could possibly have been said in the Oval Office this morning as Prime Minister, I should say, Benjamin Netanyahu has already released a picture of him and President Trump from their meeting in the Oval this morning. Zelensky, I think, slipped out the side door and Netanyahu came in another side door. And it was very much low key today. I think the attention they're wanting to keep on Lindsey Graham today and not make a big production of everything else. So everything was very low key today with the entrance of Zelensky and the Prime Minister. But of course, we'll wrap all this into one broadcast here and more tonight with Aaron Lavarco in studio. Joining us also is former, well, he is an Iranian. He's a Persian, but he left when he was a young boy. His dad saw what was going on. He was formerly high-ranking in the Iranian military, saw what was coming, got his family out 6 weeks before the fall of the Shah. And he is joining us now from the other end of the state, Shahram Hadian, where I believe, Aaron, you were just with Shahram as well.
I had a great time with Shahram in Knoxville. He hosted me in his home. We had a home group meeting. We had an interview together. Great fun. Great guy.
Good. And Shahram, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be with you, Brandon. As always, thank you so much. And it was great to have Aaron here. It was truly a blessing for our body here to have him and also for our audience in studio.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to, do we have any footage, any reports, any clips, anything coming out of the Lindsey Graham funeral that's going on at this point, guys, in the control room? They're looking. Let's go to the Middle East. Let's start with that. Let's start with the Middle East. I want to start out, Shahram, with this issue of Trump. And he was so adamant, you strike us, or you strike a ship, or one of our partners, and we're coming after a bridge or a power plant. That has not happened at all. Has someone walked in and told him, Mr. Trump, we're running out of munitions? Or is it what he's saying? I'm trying to give peace a chance. What do you say, Shahram?
Well, I saw that munitions report, and the only reason I have any pause on that munitions report is because I'm trying to figure out who is going to get criminally charged for leaking that. If that is accurate, then somebody leaked classified information, right? That specific numbers on their SAMs and their different types of missiles that they were using. But I do think, obviously, there is an element that President Trump sees himself as the peacemaker. And I think that is part of that sort of ego that he has, is that he believes he can bring peace to the world. And let's not forget, he is the head of the Board of Peace. So post leaving office, he's going to be the leader of the Board of Peace. So I think part of that is driven there. But I've said it all along, this mixed messaging is so frustrating for many because it communicates to me weakness, double-mindedness, and yeah, maybe if there is any legitimacy to the fact that they don't have the level of munitions or they underestimated some aspect of Iran, that could be a problem. And they may be saying, hey, Mr. President, we don't have what we thought we have. We're not decimating them like you claim we're decimating them. And I think the article that you just showed on screen, that the Israeli defense minister, I think that was, who was saying that we're being stopped by the U.S. from fighting Iran. To me, that's the bigger problem. What is behind that? Yeah, there you go. What is behind the U.S. once again? This is not the first time. Let's not forget June of last year, when the 12-day war was being very effective. And many believe that it would have led to very quickly the collapse of this regime if the U.S. had not intervened and tried to stop Israel from doing what they needed to do. So that's the bigger issue. And we'll see what happens here with regards to what the real reason is for why they again are stopping and wanting to again find peace, which is ridiculous with this regime.
Yeah, it's sure it is. And I think I saw a video last night, or this morning, I should say, of IRGC troops riding around on motorcycles. I'm guessing that was IRGC, riding around on motorcycles, supposedly executing people right in the streets. Shahram, have you heard that? Have you seen that?
I have seen that video. What is hard to know is the date of that video, whether, because there's a lot of stuff that's coming out of Iran. The problem is some of the stuff that's coming out of Iran is actually old video from the blackout. So it's hard to verify that. But I will say this, Reza Pahlavi came out over the weekend and said that he is getting secret messages, back channel messages from members of the IRGC, from members of the police who are ready to defect if they can trust that this campaign will go to its end and not get this, deal, no deal, yo-yo that they are there. So that was according to Reza Pahlavi, that he is having secret communications. He's being approached by members who are identifying themselves as either in the police or in the IRGC. And Brandon, remember I've said the number one way to arm the Iranian people is to have these defections. That's the number one way. We don't need boots on the ground. We need the defections to come over a percentage. 20-30% of the defections can arm the Iranian people and change the dynamic inside the nation.
Aaron, you want to comment on this, including what the defense minister saying the U.S. is blocking us from fighting Iran?
Well, firstly, what Shahram was saying about defectors, I wonder if the Mossad, if the CIA are going to have a part of that to try and work with underground people, their own intelligence in the land of Iran. That's got to be crucial. We know that that's how the Mossad work. They work through deception. So maybe that's going to be a way that they do that. Number two, regarding our defense minister saying, that the U.S. is stopping us, that's a calculated thing to say publicly. I don't think he's saying it in a critical way. I think he's saying it to let the public know where we stand. And by making that statement, Brandon, he's saying, we want to attack. That's what he's saying. We want to attack, but the US is stopping us. So that is, I think, strategic. I think it's making a message to the Iranian people. We are ready to press the button. The Americans are stopping us. So they're saying, Iran, we're coming at you, but in the meantime, we're being held back, but be on guard.
Here's a video fresh from the Prime Minister Netanyahu. Let's hear, well, I better plug in the audio. Let's see what he has to say about his meeting with the president. Here we go. Nothing, no audio. All right. So, yeah. All right. Well, we'll just have to grab that later then. No idea why there would be no audio. Let's see. Not muted. All right. Let's see now. All right. It's all in Hebrew. I guess you'll understand that, won't you? All right, let's back it up. You can translate for us. Here we go.
I finished the meeting.
And now he can't hear it, guys. Let me start it over.
I started a wonderful meeting with the president.
עם הבנה על היעד המשותף להבטיח שלאיראן לא יהיה נשק גרעיני וגם יעדים אחרים. אחת השיחות הטובות ביותר שקיימתי עם נשיא ארצות הברית, ידידנו דונלד טראמפ. היה שם גם כל הצוות הבכיר שלו, צוות הבכיר שלנו. גם כאן הייתה הזדמנות להחליף רעיונות וגם לתאם תאומים שהם חשובים לביטחון ולעתיד של מדינת ישראל. אני מכאן הולך יחד עם רעייתי שרה לטקס ההשכבה של ידיד נפלא שלנו, לינזי גראם, לבדוק שאני מייצג כאן את כל אזרחי ישראל.
All right, thank you for that translation. So, what do you think he said? We got a break coming up here any second, but what do you think he said in the Oval Office this morning to President Trump, particularly after yesterday's comment by the president? I guess I'll let you think about that as the music plays, but I want to ask you, what do you think Netanyahu thought, and what do you think he said, particularly after President Trump on Air Force One said, you know, Bibi doesn't tell me who I sell stuff to or don't sell stuff to. I make my own decisions, particularly talking about Erdogan. And again, praising Erdogan, even though there are strong concerns about what he is saying about taking over Jerusalem, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I want to get your response to all that when we come back. Aaron Lavarco is our reporter on the ground in Israel, but he is stateside now. Again, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. We'll be right back.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn